Let's go explain evolution to the monkeys.
This has the power of 1,000 spears.
You show me how we out here. I promise you, I'll show you something that will change your world forever. I can show you the way.
Take your stinking hands off me, you damn dirty human!
You heard it up top. We are returning once more to our long-form series, but also merging it because we're doing our continued month-long celebration of the filmmaker in all our hearts. That's right, it's Sep-Tim-Bur-Ton meets 2001's Planet of the Apes here on Normies Like Us. Your hosts, General Colin.
Mike Wahlberg. How you doing?
And this is General Jade.
Nice.
It's like Fade, but Jade.
Yep. So I heard Apes Together Strong. We're glad that, we're back together, continuing Sep-Tim-Bur-Ton.
That's right.
Yeah.
The conclusion of Sep-Tim-Bur-Ton.
That's right, yeah.
And conclude with our beloved apes.
A
That's
2000
what we-
Space Odyssey, some might describe it as.
Lost in Space meets Mean Monkeys. This was the reason for the season, Jacob. Right?
Yes.
We were talking about how cool it was that we were going to talk Beetlejuice at the top of the month, and then it would wrap around with Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, as we've talked all other Planet of the Apes. And Mike threw out, let's just fill it in with other Tim Burton movies. And it's been such a wild ride, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the pun was right there, too. We had to do Sep-Tim-Bur-Ton, but,
Of course. We're rolling right into Spooktober next month. We got some great movies planned, so that's coming down the pipe. It's the leaves are changing. It's almost spooky season here. I'm pretty excited, and this is Tim Burton's a great intro into spooky season.
Do you think you'll go as astronaut Leo, whatever his name is, for Christmas or for
Probably.
Christmas for Halloween? Jacob?
Leo Davidson,
Leo Davidson.
is that his name?
Of course.
Oh my gosh.
Most
great.
memorable character.
Hey,
ever.
Hawaii.
It's me, Leo, son of David. Oh,
He's no
man.
Taylor, but we'll get there.
He's no Brent, but we'll get there.
No, he's
even
not.
But we'll get there.
So we're going into Planet of the Apes after this, of course. We're going to take a break on Apes in October for Spooktober,
Mhm.
and then pick that back up with the new series, starting with Rise of the Planet Apes 2011. So
That's right. So wild.
Yeah.
this is
So
sort of
they
the
went on a-
transition from the old to the new.
Our generations, if you will, our Star Trek episode.
Yes.
And they took a 10-year break between this and that, and we'll take a 1-month break between this and that. So it's
Right.
all fitting,
Absolutely.
But do you guys have a history with this? 2001, Tim Burton's reimagining Planet of the Apes. I have to say, I have only seen this probably one time ever. Because it wasn't great to me, but we'll see if it changed at all. But I did watch a ton of the behind the scenes because this is when the special features, and it's a great film for like the craft side of things. But how about you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's very strange that, of course, this occurs 2 months before 9/11. So let's put ourselves in that headspace. But seeing
Never
this
forget.
film at the end of July, I'll never forget. Because my dad wanted to see it. It was a new Tim Burton movie who we were mega fans of. And we watched it and we're like, oh, okay. And then bought it on DVD. And I would watch it a lot. And I don't remember ever liking it. But I always kind of just would throw it on and be like,
Yes.
yep, there it is.
That's the plan.
Absolutely. I'm with you, Colin, because I also had this on DVD, I believe, and I would watch it a lot, but didn't really like it. And I mean, think about what was coming out in 2001. You of course had Lord of the Rings coming out at this time. You
Right.
had Pirates, Curse of the Black Pearl. That was 2001, right? So it was right in that zone, and I owned those on DVD. And this one I was kind of, this is kind of like Lord of the Rings. It's got like medieval stuff in it, like they're wearing
Yeah.
armor and stuff. So I was like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would used to watch this with my sister all the time, and yeah, I don't think we liked it, but yeah.
I was going to ask if she liked it or not, but no. How
Chamber
could
of
she?
Secrets, Harry Potter was another one that we were watching all
was-
the time.
I don't want to, not to pull an Arrested Development and say I don't want to blame everything on 9/11, but there was a loss of innocence that occurred post it where maybe that's when I became cynical, and everything before it, I was always kind of like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. It was fine. Like, I was just never too harsh on movies then.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
do.
don't know. I mean, I was only like 11 at the time, so I don't know how much
Yeah.
I thought about 9/11 really
Oh, I
at that
did.
age. I mean, I remember when it happened, of course, but I wasn't like thinking about the
Scared to
existential
go up in
threat.
roller coasters because I thought terrorists would bomb the roller coaster I was in.
Yeah, I remember I was like asking my mom, like, what if they attack Ohio or something? And she's like, they're not going to attack Ohio. And I was like, oh, okay, good.
I not to stay on the 9/11 train, but I was like, yeah, they're probably not going to attack Chardon. I don't think we're a high priority
No.
target. But
We don't have any tall buildings. Yeah.
Yeah,
landmarks.
I don't know.
Not the Maple Festival, but it does change like people's attitude, more cynical. I think I started carrying grudges against movies after college, though. I think I was fine,
Yes.
but I started being like curmudgeon-y after film
Yeah.
school.
Even into high school, there were some ones I remember being like, coming back and telling my parents who had dropped me off at the movies, how was it? And me being like, fucking sucked. Well, not saying fucking, but
Right.
being like, I didn't like it. And I'm being like, really? And I liked, we've done an episode on 1998, but I've liked Godzilla. Like I liked everything at a certain
Right.
point. So, you do become cynical.
Yeah, I don't
Fair.
know if I realized this was a bad movie when I was younger until I
Yeah.
saw it. And I don't know how many times I've seen it since then, but probably not that many. I don't think I've seen it in probably 20 years. But I did used to watch it a lot, and I didn't, and I still forgot things on this watch that I was like, oh yeah, that happened.
Yeah. Fresh eyes.
So it's interesting, and knowing about Tim Burton's career, this is sort of where it all takes a turn, right? Because he's making these personal movies in the 90s and stuff, decides to take on this IP project. Of course, he did Batman, in the late 80s, early 90s, but this was his first sort of sellout move where he's like, yeah, I'm going to make Planet of the Apes, right?
Yeah.
And even at the time, it was like a weird fit where it's like, he's going to be doing Planet of the Apes remake. Yeah. And I don't think I haven't seen all of Tim Burton's movies, especially some of his later ones, but of the ones I've seen, I think this is the least Tim Burton-y Tim Burton movie that I've seen, right?
That's
yeah.
fair.
It's got the least amount of himself in it, I feel like.
I think there's parts where it cuts through, but just a quick note before we get into it. It's like this definitely is, to me, Rick Baker's movie as far as like
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah,
the makeup.
I want to share something real quick. My little personal attachment to this film. Now, I was a budding attempt at a screenwriter at one point, which pushed my passion of collecting screenplays. I, of course, have the 2001 Planet of the Apes screenplay right here.
Whoa.
If you guys have ever heard me critique screenplays before, this one in particular is an art book, which I try not to collect because it messes with the formatting of the actual screenplay. However, Tim Burton himself, as a former illustrator, it's incredibly worth it. When you guys say you don't feel him in this, I just wanted to share these original sketches that Tim Burton does, like this one of the monkey scarecrow, the human scarecrow, and you see sort of costumes that the gorillas wear in watercolors there, and
much more Tim Burton.
I urge you to watch this. It's interesting how you can find his attempted DNA. And the thing that I love about this, it's got a million things of BTS. It's got all the promotional images. It's got a long intro written by him describing what the original film meant to him and how much he adores it. Again, we're seeing like some incredible, crazy artwork here. I would urge you to watch along. But the Rick Baker section in this, Mike, as you say, this is a Rick Baker movie. I mean, to look at the actual pictures he has of applying the fucking makeup. Makeup Magician is the name of this entire section. Rick Baker, Makeup Magician, where he has Paul Giamatti in the chair doing tests, transforming into the orangutan man.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of my most treasured screenplays, I will say, because it's horribly written and it sucks, but there's so much interesting.
But the best thing about this movie is the makeup and the production design, I think. And Rick Baker specifically, obviously a legendary makeup effects guy. let's just say foreshadowing. We will maybe be talking more about him next week without spoiling too much, getting into a little Spooktober. So
That's right.
some good synergy there as well.
He's got a lot of work there, so you guys can try to guess what it
That's
would
right.
be. You know, he's got a great.
Got a lot of
little
spooky
hint.
movies too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
But yeah, I don't know. I think
Yeah,
with that we could dive into it. I don't know if anything else up top.
Let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it.
All right, let's hit the Planet of the Apes, reimagined.
Hey, let's go. Come on. We're back here on Normies Like Us, where we just crash landed through a purple cloud onto the mysterious Planet of the Apes. We've gone through time to 2001, as we said, an odd time
Space Odyssey.
in U.S. history, but a space odyssey time to talk this sci-fi classic.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it is a classic.
And it is a classic.
Well, I guess to say my overall impression upon this rewatch, I kind of didn't hate this movie because, yes, it is not a very good, not a very well written movie, not a very interesting screenplay, but I think the production design, like I said, and the makeup, the costumes, like all that stuff was really working for me. I think that stuff's really good, actually. And so just on the virtue of that, I think I was entertained, even though like maybe, an hour and a half through the movie, I was like, this has got to be wrapping up soon, right? I paused the movie, 40 minutes left. And I was like, oh boy.
They found the spaceship already? Shouldn't that be the ending? You ask yourself out loud. But Jacob, you had dropped that hot take to me before I even started watching it. And inherently, when I made my little letterbox list, as I'm sure you have as we're watching along, where we're ranking these things, right when we started watching the first Ape movies, I was like, all right, let me go ahead and drag the Tim Burton one all the way to the bottom, put it down there. I don't know if that's where it's going to stay now. I, as well, had a very interesting time with this film, and I'll say this, the parts I liked the most is where I was thinking like, well, this actually does have a battle for the Planet of the Apes. Like, it does realize a bunch of guys dressed like monkeys fighting a war against humans, and I kind of, in all of our watches here, find it to be interesting. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I'd agree. There are some interesting ideas. I don't think it's any great secret that this is pretty low on the totem pole as far as the fandom is concerned, too. Like, it's like the script is bad, and there's things you could tear it apart for, but there is a lot of things that are fascinatingly of merit. Like, it's a big budget. Again, the makeup effects are great. The scale of the battles, like some of the tech behind the cinematography and stuff is really cool. The sets. So there's stuff to enjoy, just not the story, maybe.
Jacob's whole point was you recast this movie's maybe a 5 or a 6. If you get Mark Wahlberg out of this thing, this movie's maybe okay.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, I don't like Mark Wahlberg. I don't like him as an actor. Don't like him as a person.
You like him as a burger restaurant owner.
Yeah. Love Wahlburgers. But no, but I think he's had like 2 good performances in his career. And I think it was Boogie Nights and The Departed. Maybe a couple others that I'm forgetting. But my point is, yeah, you cast this with any other leading man, and I think it is a better movie because he's just so boring and so sort of nondescript in this movie that I think he kind of does drag it down. And all the supporting characters are like, more interesting than he is. But I do like the costumes. I like that they're all like medieval-ish kind of. It's sort of like Planet of the Apes meets Lord of the Rings with that final battle and everything, reminding me of Return of the King or something. Obviously, not as big of a scale, and the actual action of the battle is not as good as something like Lord of the Rings, but it's enough to be like, okay, this is interesting to me.
Well, can I get you guys' opinion on this? Now, we keep calling it a remake, and Jacob, you said that thing about how it's him diving into IP, which obviously Alice in Wonderland, Dumbo, Wednesday, like he kind of won't stop doing that bullshit, as you pointed out. But this was a time where, no, my friends, Tim Burton was not labeled as doing a remake. This is, and it says it on this screenplay right here, reimagined by Tim Burton, Planet of the Apes, a reimagining.
Right.
So what do you think about that specific phrasing? Because does that give it license to not have Astronaut Taylor. She's not going to be called Zira. There will be no
Yeah, all the
Dr.
names
Zaius.
are
Yeah.
different. The basic plot, like the basic premise is the same, but the plot details are different.
Hmm.
But you could say, the new Apes movies are reimaginings as well, and even probably more departed than from the originals than this one is, because this still has the
Yeah.
basic astronaut lands on the planet, travels through to the future, lands on the planet of the apes. It's not Earth in this movie, which is interesting. It's like a different planet.
Right.
That we find out, of course, because the space station crashed there, and then the apes developed from that.
And
So
he time
the way
warped,
that they,
yeah.
the way that
Right,
it
I guess
happened
that's
is different.
true. I guess only, spoiler alert, the ending is the Planet of the Apes that we know, and that
Well, the
Earth is
ending-
taken over by monkeys. But
Yeah. The ending, of course, is very famously, people didn't understand it. It makes no sense. It still doesn't make sense.
Oh,
Obviously, they were going for a big twist ending like the original with the Statue of Liberty, but it just didn't hit, and people are like, what? Just left confused. And that's the last thing in the movie. The credits start to roll, and you're like, wait, Ape Lincoln? What's going on here?
Right, yeah. It's very, very strange. I'll say I'm okay with being a reimagining and being its own thing. I just think he didn't kind of understand the assignment of like the political commentary that's so frequently like a focus of the Apes movies.
Sure.
This is just an adventure film with the premise
Yeah.
of guy lands on ape planet.
Mike, I hate to bring up the racism of Tim Burton again, unfortunately, but he does touch on the politics when he says things like house humans, which is obviously a play on house slaves, and the little girl like owning another little girl. There is some stuff. It's just handled
I would
so
say-
poorly and strangely.
There is some, because of course it's obviously a metaphor for slavery, American slavery in particular in the early days of America. But you have the Helena Bonham Carter character who is sort of a human rights activist, where she's like, we should be equal and everything. But even then, she's like saying we should be separate but equal, which is a very famous thing too. That's not necessarily a good thing.
That is,
so it's weird.
And it also, like, the other big conceit that makes that more kind of weird is the humans can speak in this one. They're not mute. They aren't like seen as subhuman. Like, they're not animals. Like, they have speech, and they're like, oh, we think they could have culture. We just keep fucking them up all the time. Like, that makes it even messier.
The apes have no reason to like make the humans their slaves in this movie. Like, they're just doing it because they're stronger, I guess. And even the explanation of like, oh yeah, the space station crash landed, the apes rebelled against the humans and like killed them all, and then became intelligent somehow over the years,
Right.
and became the dominant species on this planet. It doesn't make any sense if you think about it for too long.
You're kidding.
Yeah. Right.
Here's my last issue with the reimagining aspect of it. If it was totally separate, whatever, great. But when there are phrases where they're like, you can't go to Kalima, and he says, you mean the forbidden place? And he doesn't say forbidden zone. You are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Or when, we'll talk about it, our beloved old man astronaut appears as a monkey, and his name is Zaius, and you're like, right. What am I supposed to pull from this, I guess?
Well, there are some. Obviously, Ari is Helena Bonham Carter's name, not Zira. Obviously, his Mark Wahlberg is not named Taylor. There are some references. I think one of the apes is called Nova.
Yes.
So that's a reference to the original.
Yes. Does anybody say Bright Eyes?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
There are a couple, quotes, obviously. Get your hands off me, you damn dirty humans.
Damn them all to hell.
Damn them all to hell, which is what Charlton Heston says.
Dies overacting as he lived.
Well, I thought this was really funny. His one scene in this movie is to be like, hey, check this out. It's called a gun. You're going to want one of these.
Let me show you the coolest thing in the universe.
Noted NRA maniac, yes.
Yeah,
of course. And actually, I was reading about Tim Roth, who plays the villain, and his son, or Charlton Heston plays his father as an ape, which is interesting to have Charlton Heston as an ape in this movie.
What if I was a monkey this time?
Right.
That was one of those damn dirty monkeys. I guess Tim Roth really disagreed with Charlton Heston politically and was like, I do not want to work with this guy. Had I known that I was going to be having a scene with him, I would have turned this movie down. So he was really against Charlton Heston, but he did, that one scene with him. So that's pretty interesting.
But also, it sucks that for him in the scene, he had to listen to Charlton Heston be like, "Yo, guns are pretty
Check
fucking
this gun
sweet.
out.
Stronger than 1,000 spears."
It's like he's just in character.
God.
He's playing
You're
himself
going to
right
want
now.
500 rounds of ammunition for that. Yeah.
50 and a horse.
Bring me Nova.
Nova. No.
But yeah, it's kind of cool to just have him in that one scene as a reference to the original. Obviously, an homage. Yeah.
We didn't get any lawgiver either. We have some religion going on. But they're not saying praise the lawgiver. Semos.
Yeah, there's a religious aspect, but there's certainly not the lawgiver in particular. I'll say this. Here's one thing that this film has going for it. It's not stuck in a binary. It is not just chimps are good, orangutans are okay, gorillas are bad. Like this, every individual has their own morality, which I think is much more honest, obviously.
Yeah.
I think the ape culture is well realized. Like the kids playing in the street, chimps and gorillas together, and like all the different costumes. Like they're not just wearing purple, like you said. Like I enjoy the expression of the ape city. I think
no jumpsuits. Yes,
unfortunately.
Yeah, they're not separated by caste like in the old ones.
Yeah.
And I love the look of the ape city too. Like I think it's a really cool set, really well designed, and I like how it's like integrated into the city that like apes obviously climb on things a lot. They're always like hanging from things and climbing, and that's like integrated in the city. They're always jumping around and stuff. So I like how they play up the apes.
Sabbatical to the rainforest. Now I can't even climb.
Yeah.
Right.
No, like hanging upside down to knock on a door. Have you seen these humans? Like little touches like that were
powering
nice.
upside down by just throwing flowers on yourself. And if we're gonna shout out Rick Baker, let's go ahead and say Colleen Atwood, who's maybe I think the most Oscar-nominated costume designer of all time. She's done almost every Tim Burton film. The costumes in this are out of this world. She designed so many. Not even just those, but so many superhero suits. I mean, honestly, mostly come from Colin Atwood. And she just made Wednesday's outfit. I mean, that just shows you how long they still have just had this incredible relationship together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, the costuming is great. Again, I love that they're like wearing suits of armor and stuff. Compared to the old version where they're just wearing those colored jumpsuits, right?
Maybe a rubber helmet if you're lucky,
If you're lucky. And you'll have 3 other gorillas around you, and then we will not see close-ups of their face.
Right. No, in this one, they went all out, and the makeup, again, does look really good. And to me, it's interesting. Obviously, this was 2001. 2011, they remake it with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. They go full CG with Caesar and all that. Andy Serkis. But in this one, they still went practical. They still went makeup. And it's sort of like the last of its era in a way, because just 10 years later, we're doing CG now. But in 2001, the CG wasn't good enough to do that. But the makeup looks so good. I mean, I think for all like the major supporting characters, their makeup just works so well with their character. Like, obviously Helena Bonham Carter, Paul Giamatti, Tim Roth, like, the makeup is so good.
Creature designs have kind of stopped, Jacob, like completely. Like as you're saying, there is no more makeup. The makeup artists we have now, the Asian gentleman whose name I cannot remember, but who did Gary Oldman's transformation to Winston Churchill. Essentially, all you get are, and you're watching The Penguin as well, Jacob, is basically, what if we turn a handsome, skinny guy into an ugly, fat guy, which is like,
Brendan Fraser, the whale.
But it's not like interesting. This is interesting makeup. And if we had kept these designs up, you just wonder what it would look like now, opposed to, as you said, this over-reliance on CGI. So.
And of course, the CGI is good in the new Ape movies. Like, it's pretty groundbreaking. But in 2001 they were still doing. I mean, Gollum obviously was a huge groundbreaking character,
Yeah.
but this is just Gollum's just coming out and it's blowing everyone's minds. And then by comparison, yeah, you have these ape makeup effects that just look really naturalistic.
I mean, I think they're a great comp too, like the Lord of the Rings Uruk-hai makeup, the goblins and
Yes.
stuff. Like it looks as good. It's so expressive. The emotions
Yeah.
really come through. Like I think it's one of the best pieces of makeup special effects ever done. Add the costumes to it, and like it's a chef's
Obviously,
kiss on that end.
Yeah, Rick Baker, who we keep mentioning,
Mhm.
is legendary
him
by this
cook.
point. In 2001, like he's been doing it for decades. So this is kind of, I don't know how many he did after this, but this is one of his last
He
jobs, right?
little sad story about Rick Baker. Basically, he ended up only doing Men in Black films after this. Like even like the international and stuff, they'll pull him out to sort of like make a couple practical aliens for the backgrounds. But
Yeah.
otherwise, he was so depressed about the state of the industry, he sold off his entire warehouse and catalog. Like he had
I'm
a
sure.
huge collection of all the stuff he's made
And
over the years. And he was like, "There's no point anymore."
Yeah, it's really
Mhm.
sad because CG basically stole his job and like took the
Yeah.
job of makeup and special effects practical workers who used to make these awesome creations, and now it's all just done digitally, which is a different thing, but it's just a shame. Yeah.
And what sucks is too, like we've talked about Jim Henson and stuff too, like the institutional knowledge that's being lost when these guys retire or pass away. There's no one apprenticing under them, so that this
No.
entire skill set is just slowly evaporating, which is a bummer when you see
Right.
something as amazing as this, as far as
Yes.
the execution.
And the only thing that, yeah, the only things that get made like that now are like very specialized projects where they're like, yeah, we're doing practical, and it's seen as like a unique thing now because it's all just CGI now, and it's so much cheaper to make it that way, and you can underpay, the artists that make the CG and everything as well.
Literally, the guy who directed this movie can get headlines about his most recent one just because he chooses to go back to his old style
Right.
of movie making.
Because
That
it's
is
so unusual
sad.
that someone
Yeah.
would do that today. And it's seen as, it's for the love of the art of movie making now. It's not, if you're trying to make money, then it's so much better to go with CGI because it's so much cheaper to produce.
Yeah, and but you lose that tangibility, and like, I just even Alien Romulus, they did practical effects, and everybody's like, "Dude, sick! You brought back a practical creature design."
Yeah.
So maybe we have a small renaissance with Beetlejuice. People are talking
Right.
about that, but I definitely don't
Well,
want to
even
see
now,
it go more.
it's sort of a blending of CG and practical now, where
Yeah.
these movies still have CG in them, but it's sort of just you try to disguise the CG and blend it with practical to make it look natural,
Like
and
the
that's what the
Gorn.
really good movies are doing now. Yeah,
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
mix of CG and practical.
And
right.
Mike, you shared a bunch of BTS of that baby in Alien Romulus, the thing at the end about how real that thing looked on set. I mean, that needs to be shouted out. That is, whoever is still doing this, God bless you, that you are doing weird genre makeup.
Right.
Yeah, I love this, and like that's when I think this movie is best. Is all those details, like the performance coaches they had to get them to have like ape-like posture and movements, the way they walk, and like you
Right.
said, they're
And how
jumping
you
around.
move your mouth in the mask. I mean, talking and like what you do, it's a struggle. It's a fight. It's a new thing you have to learn. So I read that Paul
Yeah.
Giamatti would just stare in the mirror and be like, if I talk like this, do I look normal? If I move like this, do I look normal? And it's like,
Right.
that's dedication.
4 hours a day for makeup, relearning how to talk and walk and gesture.
Yeah, that's the other thing is they don't want to do makeup anymore because it takes forever to apply in the morning. So you got to get to set really early in the morning. As an actor, you're sitting there in the makeup chair for hours, and it's like that's why with Mystique in X-Men, like Jennifer Lawrence stopped wanting to be in the blue Mystique
She
costume.
does the head, and then the rest of the movies are Jennifer Lawrence. And you think of fucking Dave Bautista as Drax, where in those first movies he's like, my nipples hurt, I can never wear a shirt. To the last one where he's like, what if I wear a complete zip-up jacket where you only see my head? And
That's
it's like, that's so depressing.
Yeah.
And even to talk about that Penguin show that's just coming out now with Colin Farrell, obviously people raved about him in the Batman. Oh, he's unrecognizable and stuff. And he is, like, it's a really good makeup job, but he's also like in interviews like, man, I never want to put that fucking suit on again in my life. Like, it's so uncomfortable to wear all day and like to act in. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's sort of a lost, or it's a dying art, right?
Yeah, it's a bummer because they want the time in the chair to not count as set time technically, so you're kind of forced to do overtime for these kind of roles. But now, for the love
Right.
of the craft, somebody who loves the craft, you hate to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will shout out this is one of the best examples of that. Those disciplines, costuming, physical performance, everything.
Yeah. And again, all that stuff is really good. So I think this movie, to a certain degree, maybe gets a bad rap because it is seen as like one of Tim Burton's worst, if not his worst, by a lot of people. Seen as a big flop. And but yeah, it does have that production design that is like really, really strong. So it's an interesting movie.
It's just a bummer that the script lets down all of that passion so much.
Yes. Yes.
Unfortunately, there's a couple nods to the original movie, however, in that script where like ship crashes in the water and sinks. So there's no evidence. Like that's been a plot beat, and every once in a
Right.
while they'll throw it a bone. But I guess there doesn't have to
This
be.
asshole wants to fly a ship. He's mad a monkey is taking his job. He crashes his ship twice, and then when the monkey lands perfectly at the end of the movie,
He
he
did a
goes,
way better job.
You did great, Pericles. I'm so proud of you."
Yeah. Yeah, basically the
Um,
movie starts with he's an astronaut who's training monkeys to basically do his job for him because they want
Yeah.
to send the monkeys before they send a human pilot to make sure it's safe, right? And he wants to go out there and fly. They're like, no, send the monkey. Obviously there's a big time anomaly or something. He goes
Or
through.
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
it's like
what? Yeah.
well, yeah, like well, first of all, he keeps saying monkeys, and everybody is correcting him, and he constantly returns to monkey, and I don't like that.
Right.
Even
It's
after he
insane.
gets sentient
Dismissive
apes,
of these apes. Yeah.
he keeps going back to it. But yeah, like they say that line. That's the coal mine. The monkey's the canary. Like that's the point, right? To keep humans
Right.
safe. But he gets disappointed. So when Pericles gets lost, he's like, "I'm going after my guy," and
My
then
little
he
buddy.
goes rogue, and that's
Pericles. And this is funny that like again with the names, like they're not taking too many names from there's no Cornelius, there's no Caesar. They
No.
could have easily called Pericles Caesar as a nod to
Yeah.
the originals.
right.
But they chose not to. But what do we think about, the opening of this movie? It's the year 2026. So far in the future.
Kind of interstellar in that it's a
Yeah.
guy on a ship getting messages from people on Earth being like, "We miss you. You've been up there for so long." I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is strange."
It was kind of Star Trekky to me. It's sort of the near future. We're out, we've got space stations and stuff now. We're doing space
Yeah.
stuff.
Random anomaly. I don't know. Scan it or something.
Yeah.
that's
It's
very
Called
Star
the
Trek.
Proteus. Is that what his space station's called?
Oh, I'm not
Or
sure.
what is it, Oberon or something?
The Oberon, maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah. Again, this is
Yeah.
another moment where, in my mind, if you had quizzed me before we watched this, Colin, what's the little ape called? I would have been like, Caesar. And when you tell me
Right.
it's not, and then you say, "Well, what's the name of the ship?" I would have been like, Caesar?
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't want to call anything Caesar or Cornelius or Zira or any of that. So
Well, they just took the Z off and turned it backwards for Ari.
Yeah, that's
That's the
shameless.
closest
that's
we
true.
got.
That's true. I
It's
didn't think about that.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
The minute I heard it, I was like, horrible.
Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about the cast a little bit, right? Of
Please.
course, we've got Marky Mark Wahlberg,
hmm
our leading man.
Yeah.
Again, not a fan of his acting.
Jacob, you love to bring this up. One of your favorite movies of all time, Boogie Nights. You said
Yes.
you listed that as his two best movies, and Mark Wahlberg denounces making that film. That he's literally
Yes,
like,
because
I
he's so
regret it.
religious. He's very Catholic. He's like, I shouldn't have made that movie about pornos and stuff.
Yeah, pornography. Pornography is bad.
Yeah, which again is very funny that Burt Reynolds, who was nominated for an Oscar for that role, also was like, I shouldn't have made that. I hate Paul Thomas Anderson and stuff. It's like,
Both
you don't understand.
insane.
He's saving your career.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So he's off, fresh off doing some '90s movies. Obviously, Marky Mark. He was a musical artist. He was a model, an underwear model.
Mhm.
Yeah. So he's the leading man in this. But I want to talk more about Helena Bonham Carter,
Hell yeah.
our leading female ape,
Yes.
HBC. She was not, I don't think, a huge star by this point. Obviously, she did this little movie called Fight Club, which is sort of a
Right.
big cult hit.
This is kind of her cashing in the check of Fight Club, basically. It's her
Yeah.
being like, am I also a movie star? No,
Right.
not really.
Let's do this movie where I have to wear a bunch of ape makeup.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think she does a really good job. Like I like her a lot more than Mark Wahlberg in this movie. Obviously, like she's a really good actor. So
As our Zero stand-in, she's like sympathetic to the humans. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
think there's other like characters that I think are a little better. Like I think Thade is
Yeah.
a standout for me. Tim Roth,
Yes.
but
Sure.
Thade is good. I feel like he's a little one note to me because he's just so
Fair.
evil all the time. Like he's the bad ape. And
the
there's
first
this
bad
weird,
ape, the OG.
yeah, the weird romantic thing with him where he's like in love with Helena Bonham Carter is very strange. It's like you're in love with this human rights
Yeah.
activist and you like hate humans. That doesn't
They
make
grew
any
up
sense.
together. The scene where he brands her, I'm truly like, let's wrap this movie up. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has to come to an end here soon. I want to jump back to Helena Bonham Carter. I think she's fine.
Mhm.
Let's point out that, of course, Lisa Marie, Tim Burton's current partner at this time, after he got divorced from his German artist wife, whose name that I cannot remember. Again, he is a pussy hound. This is the fifth girlfriend he's had who he's
Right.
pushed to star in his films. Was spotted in France after the making of this on a park bench, paparazzi taking pictures of Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter. This was the reveal of their relationship starting and him cheating on his girlfriend Lisa Marie, who he
And of
devastated
course,
by doing that. Yeah.
yeah. And you know, he would be with Helena Bonham Carter through most of like the 2000s and 2010s.
13 years, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And so their relationship is very dominant in my mind of like, you know, she was in every one of his movies in like the 2000s. And obviously he has a type, you know, dark-haired goth girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess now he's replaced her with Monica Bellucci.
There was Eva Green in the middle of there, the star
Eva
of two of
Green,
his
right.
films.
Again,
which
he has
is
a
very
type.
strange. He has a type.
Yeah.
I like Helena Bonham Carter, like you, Jacob. I see her as his primary muse, and I do like them and
Certainly for
wanted
that
them
era.
to succeed. Yes, but her performance in this, when she's explaining what Kalima, the forbidden place is, and the monkey, and she's pulling that little shawl over her face and she's doing it.
That is
I
very
truly am
strange,
like,
yeah.
what is going on here? Why?
Well, there's
you're
a
just,
weird
like, looking
thing.
for something to do as you act, I guess.
Yeah, I couldn't tell, but I was like, is she like into Mark Wahlberg's
Yes.
character? Like she's attracted to him,
Yes.
but he's not attracted to her, or maybe he is, but there's also
Well-
this generically attractive, you know,
Mhm.
female woman there that's like his love interest.
That's not Nova, but is
no.
Nova.
Right.
Yeah. It was all very strange. I was like, are they doing a thing where like she's like in love with him, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, and they kind of play into that at the end. We get another smooch, you know, from the first movie, but it's not because he's so
Right.
damned ugly.
But he also smooches
No.
the
Gets the
female
bonus.
woman.
There
Yeah.
are moments where you think he's almost going to take the young lady with him. But then there are moments where they are all around the fire together where he is giving so much attention to Ari that the female human gets up and storms off. But
Yeah.
because the film doesn't narratively pay any of that off, it looks like she's just getting up to like go to the bathroom or something. Like it's
Yeah,
it's
that
edited
isn't done
so
well at all.
strangely, but it plays as if they are in a competition for this spaceman's heart, right?
Yeah,
This is
I
Tim
think part
Burton's
of the
real
problem
life.
is
It's like Helena Bonham Carter.
it's too many women
Lisa
are
Marie.
into me.
Which
Yeah.
am I gonna pick?
What should I do? I want
yeah.
my monkey.
The other problem is that the human characters, other than Marky Mark, are like so not
Oh.
developed that they're like barely even characters.
Very
So
boring.
it's like, you know,
Teen
what am I supposed
Man.
to think about these characters? There's like the little kid that like wants to be a part of the battle, and they keep telling him like, "No, you're too young" and stuff. And
Well,
it's like,
that
oh, man.
kid is classic. I know this is 2001, but he's classic 90s teenager playing what's essentially like an 8-year-old, and then he's like, "Oh
Yeah.
shucks," but he's like too old to be acting "oh shucks." And Jacob, I know I can't think of a direct example of this except maybe is one of the Stark kids' names Rickon Stark, the
Rickon
one who
Stark,
gets
yeah, the
who gets hit
youngest.
by the arrow, like
Yeah.
the archetype of kid who wants to help but constantly fucks up, I feel like was in
Right.
Game of Thrones all the time, and it's like the only show that still did that stereotype.
Yeah. Rickon, he was kind of the least developed of all the Stark children. He was kind of just Bran's little brother tagging along.
Yeah, let's
this
say
kid,
some names, because this is Luke Barrel as Byrne, a human who
Sure.
wants to fight in the revolution. And then just to go back real quick, Estella Warren, a former Olympic athlete / model, plays
right.
Dana.
Not really an actress, or not
No.
really in many other movies other than this one. But yeah, she is. I think she was a model for sure, and a very attractive woman, but maybe not a great actress.
Maybe not great material either. Like, I don't know
That's true,
any
yeah.
of their names. They don't make an effort to establish them, seems
But
like.
she's supposed to have some kind of connection with Mark Wahlberg, where
Yeah.
they're humans. And then Chris Christopherson as her dad has
Right.
even
My
less to
God.
do, where he dies like pretty much immediately. And it's like, why was Chris Christopherson even in this?
Well,
I was
Chris
surprised to see
Christopherson,
him.
much closer to our former astronaut from our first movie in age and relation
Right.
and general gumption. You would think he could play a very convincing lead of this film. No, instead he plays this human resistance fighter who kind of does nothing. My big issue with all this is, to what Mike said about it not feeling political enough, the slavery angles, the stuff, the monkeys, the apes, opening their mouths
How
and
dare
saying,
you.
"Do you have a soul in there?" When it's like, you heard Helena
Right.
Bonham Carter say that they make things. You're constantly talking about how they have culture, lives, they're breeding, they're people. Like, they shouldn't speak English in this film, I think, is the biggest issue. They should do a sort of Tarzan broken speak. But the fact that they're like that the guy from Mr. Deeds, who God help me, whose name I don't know, and from
Right.
Stargate, just a veteran character actor, going like, "Well, we can't
Eric
go out."
Avari.
Eric Avari, thank you, Jacob. We can't go out because humans have curfew after this time. Where it's like, if you're saying the words curfew, if you're like putting these rules up there, it's like, you're a person. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
no
it
ape would
is-
look at you and be like, you're not real.
To me, it is more of a, in the originals, they were seen as dumb animals, because they couldn't talk, obviously. In this one, it is a much more direct metaphor to slavery of Africans in early American history, where it's like,
Right.
yeah, they were,
They had
sentient
language,
humans,
they had
could
culture.
talk.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're 100% right.
Yeah, being
And
denied
again, the
that.
stuff with like
Right.
the house humans and stuff is a very pointed, reference to that. Of
Tim,
course.
easy, Tim. Careful, Tim.
Yeah, Tim Burton, being in charge of all this is like a little like,
It feels
yeah.
heavy-handed, I think, is the problem. Like, I
For
get
sure.
that it's a metaphor, yeah, but it's like not done with finesse. That's the issue that I have, is the lack of finesse.
And Helena Bonham Carter is like the daughter of a wealthy senator who's like a very liberal, like, oh, humans should have rights and stuff. But even she is like, you're still like a product of this society that is like enslaving people and stuff. So I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It wants to like be like, here's a character who's very progressive, pro-human rights, but then at the same time she has a separate but equal line. So it's like,
Yeah.
He does.
So even she doesn't see the humans as totally
Right.
equal to apes.
No,
So.
and to go forward more on the cast, I mean, the most direct result of this slavery lifestyle is Paul Giamatti, who plays an orangutan who is literally a slaver.
Like a slave
He's a
auctioneer.
human trader. Yes.
Well, this is interesting because Paul Giamatti was also in a movie called 12 Years a Slave. And he played a slave auctioneer in that movie. So he's played the same role, essentially. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's a great movie, of course.
In 12 Years a Slave, he has orange fur and he walks on all fours, right?
Yeah. But even when I saw 12 Years a Slave for the first time, I was like, he's playing like the same role that he played in Planet of the Apes 2001.
That's crazy.
Wild.
Yeah, I guess he just really likes playing slave auctioneer. I don't know, but I think it was an interesting role for him, and he wanted to be an ape rather than a human. I think because he wanted to have the makeup and all that, and try to act around that
And this is post Sideways, where he was having a huge resurgence. Again, this movie is kind of a collection of people where it's like, are these people movie stars? Should we test if these people are movie stars?
Yeah.
Michael
I love
Clark
Paul
Duncan,
Giamatti.
who plays the general, the Grella. This was after he had a huge, not comeback.
Kingpin?
But no,
Daredevil?
the Green Mile, where he
Yeah.
was really getting critical praise. for
Yes,
his
of course.
performance. And I think was maybe Academy Award nominated at that point
Hmm.
for
I
that
think
film,
Green
maybe.
Mile. I believe so. I could look, but
Paul Giamatti is an actor that I always love in everything. Like he's not a movie star necessarily, but he is a great character actor in that he just obviously, anything that he's in, I think he makes it better. And he can lead movies like The Holdovers, but
Well, it's weird that his orangutan named Limbo had a lazy eye, and had to take care of a bunch of kids over Christmas. Jacob, it was strange.
Obviously not a traditionally good-looking leading man type, but just a great character actor, a really great actor, I think. And Sideways I love as well. So yeah.
and that Frankie Muniz movie where they turn him blue,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Big Trouble. Is that what that's called?
something like
Or what-
that. But
Liar or what, Big Liar?
Liar,
or something?
Big Liar.
Big
But
Liar.
of course,
No,
the director of Deadpool and Wolverine.
wow,
Right.
those connections.
Yeah, my
Michael
favorite.
Clark Duncan was nominated for The Green Mile.
Thank you.
Best
Yeah.
There you go.
So it's just a collection of people who were extremely hot post the 90s.
Yeah.
Getting forced. You just got to look at what the studio system was. Using the terms like reimagining, getting an artist like Tim Burton to be like, if you do this, it'll add some cred. But if you add Mark Wahlberg, it'll get some money. And it's the weird marriage of all that. Obviously, the films we have talked about, he fought for the people in them. He fought for Michael Keaton as Batman and Beetlejuice. He fought to have Jack Nicholson as the Joker, and it paid off because Jack Nicholson's one of the greatest actors of all time. And when you have in his hands, former rapper / model who literally says, I've done so many Calvin Klein ads where I'm shirtless, like Taylor in the first film, I will not be taking my shirt off the entire time. And we're making demands like that as movie stars. It's like Tim Burton is not going to win these battles, right?
No. By the way, Big Fat Liar is the movie. Paul Giamatti.
Thank you.
With Frankie Muniz and Amanda Bynes, a classic, which he made
God
right
bless
after this
Amanda.
movie, 2002. So there you go.
Wow.
Oh no.
He was addicted to makeup. You're gonna turn me blue.
Yeah.
Rick, I got a job for you. You gotta paint me blue.
Get me in the chair.
Yeah, but I will say there are some. Obviously, Tim Burton loves to have his regulars, his usuals that he casts in everything. In this movie, I thought it was interesting. He had Glenn Shaddix and Lisa Marie in small parts.
That's right.
As apes in that one dinner scene where they play that other senator and his wife or whatever. So I thought that was a nice nod. And that's one thing you can say about Tim Burton. He will keep his friends employed.
Yes, that's true. Even if they are wine vampires named Johnny, he will
especially Johnny.
keep them employed. But then you've got, we talk so much about his love of B films, kung fu films, the weird stuff he grew up on. To have Hirokari Takagawa, who, I'm not positive he's a Cantonese actor or a Japanese actor, but obviously Mortal Kombat, probably the thing our generation would know him from the most, but was a veteran character actor of like kung fu cinema and stuff like that. To put him in this, no studio is being like, you have to put him in. That is Tim Burton fighting again for people he either enjoys or are his friends. Jacob, you are right.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat. Yeah. Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa. He's a Japanese American actor. And of course, he's sort of an opposite role to Michael Clark Duncan, where they're both these guerrilla characters.
Yes.
They have there's past where he was like this decorated general. Michael Clark Duncan was his best student. And then because they'd had a disagreement on something, he was sort of disgraced or something and ends up as like a house servant to Helena Bonham Carter, basically.
Yeah, basically her manservant. Now, Jacob, you're stumbling upon a second component to something Mike has said about those humans being so underdeveloped. There's too many characters in this film. There's no reason this character needs to exist, or there needs to be a mirror of the deuteragonist. That makes no sense.
But it's interesting though, because he does have sort of a role in this group with Helena Bonham Carter, where she's more willing to listen to the humans. He's more skeptical about whatever Mark Wahlberg's saying. And so they have that kind of balance there. I agree. If they were going to cut any character, he would probably be first in the list, just because he is so unnecessary. They have this big moment, I guess, in the battle with him and Michael Clark Duncan. And again, Michael Clark Duncan I do like in this movie, and he sort of has a contrast to Fade, where he's this super religious, believing in the prophecy of Semos and all this.
He's maybe the best looking in the makeup. But Jacob, I would also argue you don't need Paul Giamatti in this movie, other than to sort of be like, well, in the first one they had an orangutan who traveled with them named Dr. Zaius, and it's like, well,
he adds some flavor. I think he adds a little flavor. I liked him. I think maybe he didn't need to be part of the group after they escaped the city. Like he should have just been in that one scene where he has like the humans in the cage and stuff, and that would have been fine. But to include him in the rest of the movie, he does feel superfluous by the end. I like that he's sort of like, because he's with the humans, basically the apes are like disown him. He's like, well, I guess I'm one of you now, but he's still kind of like a piece of shit. So they don't really
need to use those chains anymore. Why? Because they tried to kill me.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, his character was not the most necessary for sure.
No, but I still like most of the ape characters, like Hirotagawa. Like I like his character. I like his look. Like maybe not the most to do mechanically as a term of the plot, but I still like, for the most part, most of these.
I like all the
characters.
Ape
I like
characters
them all more than Mark Wahlberg.
More than the human characters, and more than Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Is like I think the supporting characters to me makes this movie more than Mark does. So
there could be a movie that's just about the interpolitics of the ape world without Marky Mark, and like that would be more interesting than.
Right, like even that dinner scene, I thought that was like more interesting than a lot of the movie, where they're sitting around talking about the state of ape society and all this stuff. Like I like that stuff.
Got David Warner.
We had
David Warner, yes.
We talked about in 2 different Star Trek films that we've covered. You know,
David Warner, our old friend,
sitting at a dinner, being like, "The politics of this," and you're like, "He just did this his whole career. That's great."
Yeah.
Yep.
Again, these minor supporting roles are the standouts to me over Marky Mark, who brings the whole thing down, I think. So all the little details I like, but the story and the screenplay, unfortunately, is not very good. Like it's very generic. There's no surprises.
Yeah, sorry.
Like everything goes exactly how you kind of expect it to go, and it's just very cliche, I guess.
It's like a paint by numbers. But I did mention like it feels like a Rick Baker, at least like the texture of the world and everything movie. But it does feel Tim Burton in that this movie is still also very weirdly horny. And I was like, there he is. There's our guy.
Well, again, the whole HBC being into this human who's like, he's different. He has short hair. He knows, he knows more than these other humans. He's so bold. Like,
but even the opening is literally they're on a spaceship and they go, Pericles fucked the shit out of this other chimpanzee, and you're like, okay, I guess. Thank you for telling me that.
He's asking the other lady why she doesn't have a boyfriend. The postcard is like, when are you gonna get hooked up with somebody?
Hey,
Mark?
man.
Yeah,
you gotta get married.
And then like he runs through the apes being intimate, like during the escape scene. Like, and that was weird. The mating dance. Like, what was that?
Yeah. These apes are horny.
That's true. Well, they say the only thing in human culture happens below the waist, but they're pretty horny too, I would say.
Right. Man.
That's where the Tim DNA was in there. The third act though does drag, I guess, to get over to there. Like, and when they're like, "Hey, all the humans heard about your story," it's like, have they really? Like that felt
from
really
who?
You gotta tell them to go home, Mike. Mike, they gotta go home. They have no home. They come here for you, Marky Mark, to hear about the Funky Bunch.
Yeah.
Oh. Well,
he basically, by escaping, he's kind of sparks this rebellion where they're like, oh, he's like our Jesus or something. He's our savior. And then by the end of the movie, he's like, all right, I'm going back to the past now. Goodbye forever. And just leaves. And even
literally,
Helena Bonham Carter's like,
yes,
you should stay. Like, You should really
You'll
stay.
be
He's
a
like, no.
god here. But she says things like, they'll tell stories of you when the man from the stars with his silly little spaceman stuff. And you're like, girl, he's not going to fuck you. He thinks you're a monkey.
Well, and he does, because he keeps returning to the term monkey, even though he's been corrected several times. I don't like the dead naming of the apes by Mark Wahlberg in this.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that he seems to hate apes.
Yeah.
I guess that's because they replace him, but he hates Pericles. He lies and acts like they're friends to go get him. And then he lands on this planet, Mike, and you're so right that basically the whole time he's not like in our past films, it's just confusion. It's just, what is this? I'm so scared.
Taylor hated the apes too.
But Taylor hates everything. Taylor hated humanity.
Taylor hated humans.
This
Yeah,
guy
he was
specifically is like, fuck monkeys. And you're like, they're not monkeys.
Yeah. And even
I want to leave this place. Even if I'm
Yeah,
a
it seems
god,
like
I would leave.
torture.
Yeah.
He's like, this is a nightmare to me. But they have that line where he's like, yeah, monkeys are lower in the evolutionary scale, right below humans.
Can I ask you guys real quick? Can we just get to them finding the spacecraft? Is that okay?
Yes, that's I think where we're going.
So they find the spacecraft out in Kalima, the Forbidden Zone, and the whole twist, which I think is an okay twist, is that, like you guys said, it's not that it's Earth; it's that he's gone thousands of years into the future. This ship tried to follow him. God knows how this fucking wormhole works, where Pericles goes in first. He comes out after Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg goes in second. He comes out before everyone else.
Some time
This
shenanigans.
spaceship goes in 20, 30 years after him and comes out 1,000 years before him.
Yeah. It's
no,
random.
because the spaceship when he was like having some kind of emergency. The spaceship is like, he's maydaying and stuff. He goes through this portal or whatever. The spaceship just, I think, going after him, crash lands on the planet without going through the portal.
The guy on the recording says we went through a purple storm as well. Unfortunately,
It
I would believe you, but
but it doesn't make more sense that but it crashes in the past, right? It's thousands of years old.
No, he stays in the time slip while that's happening. It's just timey-wimey bullshit. Yeah.
But I think the spaceship crashes in the present of the beginning of the movie, which ends up as the past. Then he crashes. He comes thousands of years later. That's why it's all a ruin now.
I want that to be true. It is not, but it makes more sense the way you say
coming after is also like, what is going on? So Pericles
makes no sense.
Yeah.
So they're on it. He gets a bunch of answers. They ask about their history. Not Zira says, "What? Tell me of the apes of your planet." He's like, basically, we just made them extinct. But he says, like, doesn't he specifically say, he's like, we got rid of them all. We killed all of them.
In zoos.
It was bad. We put them in zoos, and
this
they
word,
disappeared.
zoo?
And then we had like 10 left, and we did weird experiments on them in space. Like, is that what's happening? There were like no apes left on Earth.
I think that's a general statement on they're like an endangered species, and we do like experiments on them for like makeup and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of a commentary on human.
Because the whole thing
animal
is,
rights.
we haven't brought up is the woman he's interested into originally is splicing the human genome, is the words that they use. That's not what any of that would be.
Right.
Into the apes, and that as they keep breeding and growing,
They're getting smarter.
But Simos, the one that she makes, who she's like, Simos has taken control. He's crazy. Where you're just like, I wanted them to cut to him because it's like, is he still just like a little chimpanzee who's like smart? Like, what are you like? What is his explanation?
The video logs that they get from the space station are so abbreviated. Where it's like the first one is like, yeah, we're going through this portal. We just crash landed. Oh, the apes are more helpful than we thought. They're helping us with the crash and everything. The apes have taken over and they're killing all of us.
What do you mean they're helping with the crash? It's like, you're like, well, build us some shelter. And they're like, you got it, boss. It's like, that should be a warning sign.
Yeah. But there's no explanation for how the apes, I guess because they were splicing the human genome in the beginning, but the apes somehow got smart, learned to talk, did all this stuff. None of that's really explained, except it's been thousands of years, so they just evolved that way.
So again, our language should evolve the opposite. We should be animals. But I like the thing that you said about it's not about that, it's about slavery. So Yeah.
I mean, it makes less sense than the original, I guess. Not that like time travel and stuff really makes any sense because it's not real, but um, yeah, the whole explanation for the how this society ended up the way that it is doesn't make any sense. And I guess the humans are survivors of that original crash, or the ancestors of those survivors. But you're right, yeah, they should be dumber and yeah.
Yeah.
The Kali Ma, I guess, is the he brushes off that sign. It says "Caution Live Animals," so they just
Oh.
call that Kali Ma.
Oh.
Did you notice that?
Oh.
Yeah, you
No.
didn't
Oh,
notice
Okay.
that?
yes.
It's
I kinda
it's
like that.
because the letters are covered, so it just says Kali Ma. When he
Kalima.
brushes it off, it's that
Caution
sign that says
live
"Caution
animal.
Live Animals."
Okay.
So that's where that
That's
name comes
great.
from. Yeah.
I like that. If you're cleaning it up, you could be like, oh, we're keeping it secret that we knew we came from the humans. We learned our language based on what's on the computer of the ship that we forbid people to visit. Like, that's how they could
Right.
get
There should be
English.
more of a conspiracy about, like
Yeah.
with the first movie, with the Forbidden Zone and stuff.
Well,
Like Dr. Zayas knew there was more truth there that he didn't want to get out to
well,
change the status quo.
let's
Mhm.
rewind then a little bit because let's talk about Charlton Heston's scene. We really haven't talked about Tim Roth that much, but
No.
let's talk
He is
about
pretty one
General
note, though.
Thade and his father. That is the scene that seems to imply there's a conspiracy because the guesses he's making, where he literally
You're
says,
right.
"Tell
Yeah.
me, was the human alone? Did he come from the stars?" And you're like,
Yeah.
"What are
There's
you
this
talking about?"
prophecy that's been passed down through, because we find out, so Tim Roth, General Thade's family, is direct descendants of Semos.
Right.
So this
The
prophecy
most
has been passed
violent,
down.
so it would
Yeah.
make sense. Yeah.
And I guess they've just been the leaders of the apes for thousands of years, basically.
Even though at one point they say Thade has come with his armies and the Senate has voted to allow him to do this, which means he is unstoppable now. Where you're like,
Right.
well, why
He
even
just
have
needed
a
the Senate to
Senate?
vote.
It's like he seems like he's the president. What are you
And that's why,
talking about?
like David Warner is a senator who's a more liberal senator,
Yeah.
so he has to like convince him to vote to be more extreme, and that's when he thinks his daughter was kidnapped, so then he relents to what Tim Roth wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tim Roth does
So
do
it's sort
the
of like it's like the
conspiracy.
Phantom Menace. It's like why does Palpatine need the Senate to like go along with him or whatever?
Yeah. But he does do a cover up. Ape kills ape. There seems to be no quarrels
Yeah,
with
he
ape on
kills
ape
those
murder in this
two
society.
Yeah.
guards. Yeah.
Again, kind of missing the point of all this. Now,
Right.
Mike, I assume maybe this will be in your quiz at the end. I'm sorry if it's.
There's been a couple that have been spoiled, but
at
it's
all.
fine.
Interesting. Charlton Heston, basically, I don't know the exact timeline. I think it was hours after this was filmed. He passed away. I mean, he just
Sure.
like, they maybe buried him in that ape makeup.
Well, do you
I
remember?
just can't imagine
would've
using
wanted.
your last moments of life to be like, yes, Rick, put the mask on me, Rick.
When did Bowling for Columbine come out? Have you ever seen that movie?
Right, yes.
Michael
the famous
Moore,
scene with him with dementia. Just
yeah,
being
he's in that.
so-
That's a very anti-gun type of movie.
It's good to see that things have changed after all this time. Thank God.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting that Jacob, you said that scene seemed so pro what he's about because what he's saying is how
loves
dangerous
guns.
guns are, though.
But he's like,
Honestly,
it's best that we have them in our control. Like you should
Right.
have the gun. Nobody else should have the gun.
Well, he literally just said the
Oh,
words
God.
gun control, though. So you'd think
Yeah.
that would tip him off that it's like, this is against what you believe.
Right. I'm sure he's just like, yeah, I'll be an ape in your movie, whatever.
It's the right to bear arms, not the right to monkey arms. And you're like, hey,
That's right.
I don't know what that means.
Sure,
Problem
old
is,
man.
dude,
Yeah.
the dementia's really getting you, pal.
Again, that Tim Roth thing really stood out to me. Hopefully that wasn't in your quiz, Mike, about
Well,
Tim
spoiler,
Roth
it was, but that's okay.
not wanting to work with
I
him.
believe
But
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
really surprising to me. But I guess, yeah, he almost was just like, I can't act with this guy. He's
It
insane.
was like Tim Roth rewrote a lot of his own lines too. There's really some strange control going on in this movie that I like. Nobody's gonna come out a winner. If I was him, I'd be like, let me just do what's on the page. Like I'm not gonna make this better.
Yeah.
What if I asked
I
you
do
as a
like Tim
soul?
Roth.
Yeah.
I like Tim Roth. He is sort of like just angry the whole movie, and I'm just like, man, you need to like take a chill pill, man. You're this can't be good for you to be angry all the time.
When he gets called out or that they've failed, and the wire work, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon style of him leaping from side to side. He pulls
loves to
his
leap.
scimitar out, cuts off that chandelier, drops down, and goes, "Actually, I'm not angry at you. It's just that my dad died today." I was like, "This is insane."
Yeah. That does happen
Uh,
minutes later.
And I liked his relationship with Michael Clark Duncan, where like Michael Clark Duncan is like the second in command who's like super religious, and he's using that religiousness to like make him do what he wants. But then by the end, they see him as a fraud and stuff. And that ending scene with him is great too, where he's like behind the glass and stuff. He's just having a big freak out.
Well, yeah, because we do get our big battle, and I like parts of this, Jacob. Like you said, it's not quite Pelennor Fields, but it has its moments. Like I really like how he's like, I'm gonna use the engine to destroy hundreds of apes. Like that was a great idea.
Right.
I'll just fucking blow you up. He earlier he's like, this thing's powered by a nuke. This means nothing to me.
Right, which I did like that. And then when Pericles comes down and the battle stops, like, wait a minute, the prophecy's true, and then kind of the way some of that plays out. Yeah.
You know what that reminded me of, Mike?
Yeah.
That really reminded me of the scene in Children of Men where the baby's born and they just keep holding the baby up and walking around and all the fighting stops because people are just like frozen looking at the baby. Like when they see that little guy, they're like, could you imagine if our God, it turned out, was just like a little guy and he just like came down and we all had to be like, oh, he's just
obviously,
like a little fun guy.
Their religion, the ape religion, was that Semos, the first ape, would one day return. So when they see this little ape coming down in a spaceship, they automatically assume that's Semos. It's like if Jesus reappeared and was like, "Hey, I'm back." Of course,
he was the size of a toddler, Jacob, and we all had to be like, "Oh, why wasn't that in our books?"
He's the size of a toddler and nonverbal.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, Jesus is autistic and like a little person. That's interesting.
But then Mark Wahlberg has to like, basically the way he handles it, I feel like he could have handled Pericles. Like he should have gone, like he should have said, "Yeah, that is Semos. Like he's friends with me, so you should like listen to me."
Here's what he does. He's basically like, "Yo, Pericles, you got that gun that we used to hide in your little escape pod?" He's like, "Okay, good, we got this gun now." And you're like,
"Yeah.
You don't need it anymore. Like you just like blew their minds."
And then Pericles like runs into the space station. Thade. So then him and Thade have like this big confrontation in the space station.
Becomes a 1v1, because everybody's like, no, we're not fighting gods here, except for Thade.
No.
And Thade and Pericles like tries to protect Mark Wahlberg. So then Thade like throws Pericles against the wall or something and injures him. And that's when it's like, oh, you're hurting apes now? You're hurting Semos, or what you think might be Semos?
Yes, that's what turns him on Clark Duncan. So he gets locked in this cage that obviously we saw Mark Wahlberg power on with his hand before, and Thade has the gun. And this is that great scene, Jacob, that you were just mentioning of him completely freaking out. But the gun, it's not a laser gun. It shoots like pressurized air, maybe?
Yeah, well, I think the gun that Mark Wahlberg had is like a flare gun because he shoots flares off into the sky.
Oh, yeah.
He's like shooting flares and they're exploding. And then so Thade is like shooting flares or something. They're bouncing off the glass and just ricocheting everywhere in this room that he's in. He's just freaking out, shooting the gun everywhere, and they're just bouncing around. And he doesn't understand what glass is, so he can't like break the glass because they don't have glass in this world. I guess they haven't developed that technology. So that he's like, it's clear, but it's hard.
No chandeliers, but no glass.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do like the reveal when the smoke clears and he's just like paralyzed in like a fear state. Yeah.
That
gets undone by the real ending, but
fuck this guy. Yeah.
Well, I don't, and that,
it ruins
the ending.
But does Pericles die? I think he does, and that makes me sad because I thought it was going to be Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg doesn't take him back; he leaves by himself.
Well, yeah, I guess because maybe he thinks like Pericles, you are a god here. Like maybe he just thinks like this would be good for you.
He's like,
I guess he just really just fucking hates Pericles. There's a moment where it seems like he is going to take Danae with him.
Yeah,
like she's sitting and just like looks so sad. He runs over her and he's like, okay, have a good one. Like that, he like takes the time to just be like, I'm leaving, goodbye. And it's like, well, like just leave or take her with you. Don't like point out to her that it's like, I gotta go.
Yeah, good luck with your weird society here. Hope everything works out with the apes and everything. Goodbye forever. Yeah, I guess
Yep.
Pericles, he crawls into his cage in the space station and just kind of lays down.
And
And then,
dies.
yeah, I
They
guess he
don't ever
might
show to
die.
confirm it, but he was crawling injured, which good acting by the chimpanzee. But yeah,
Yeah. This chimpanzee actor is incredible. This kid, he could have gotten eaten by a cloud up in space, and no, I mean, he is that
Mhm.
good.
yeah, it's a little injured crawl. I'm like, dang, you're selling it, buddy. But justice for Pericles is what I wanted to highlight because Mark
I guess.
Wahlberg's like, fuck this, fuck you.
Fuck
Yeah,
that,
Mark
that.
Wahlberg is kind of a piece of shit because he doesn't
He's
even
a
check
huge
on
piece of shit.
Pericles. He's like, hey,
Yeah.
you kind of saved the day, but I'm just gonna,
Hey.
leave.
Hey, Pericles, wake up. So, the woman who's not Zira, pretty sure she wants to fuck me. All right, have a good one. I'll see you later. It's like, well, he doesn't care about that.
He's just like manipulating her to get off the planet. Like you could
Yeah.
read it. Like he does not care about anyone that he's with. He only takes the
He's
girl
negging.
because he's like, not without my family. He's like, fine, if I have to. It's like only if I have to will I.
Yeah.
They cross that river. He puts not Zira on his back. And then the human girl's like, are you okay? And he's like, that ape was really squeezing me when we were in the water. Like,
Yeah,
it's
you're
like,
right.
that's
She's
what
giving
he's
him a
mad about.
massage.
You're like, okay.
Yeah, she comes up and gives him a massage. She's like, oh, your shoulders hurt? Was that difficult,
No.
Mark Wahlberg? And he's like,
Oh, and then
Yeah, he had these two
not Zira
women
gets
fighting
mad
over it,
about
basically.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
we
So
could call it-
weird.
And he wasn't
Nouveau?
like that interested in either of them.
No, he's not. He just wants to leave this planet because he hates monkeys and
It's like,
apes.
fuck this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to human society, obviously, lands on the ground.
Well, hold on.
Talk about the ending.
So
Yeah.
he's flying through the purple cloud, okay? Passes Saturn. We see the time dial going down from 2900 back to 2010 or 2100, whatever it actually is. I can't remember. Now, did we
2026.
see that dial going up as he was crashing? Did he already know he was in the future?
I don't know.
I think
was
he knew
kinda
that he was
checked
in the
out.
future, but the fact that he was
Okay.
able to somehow just go back through the purple cloud and it just happened to like send him back in exactly into the
It's
time
the
that he
Ferris
wanted to go
Bueller
to.
trick of if you go in reverse, your odometer goes backwards, Jacob. He knows
Yeah.
that. So the reason I stopped you, Jacob, is because the way that they're building the twist here. Because as he enters the atmosphere, as his computer tells him, you are headed towards Earth. We know you're going towards Earth. He comes in, the comms come up. Roger there. Unidentified flying object.
Right.
What are you trying to do? You're trying to land? Yeah, I'm trying to land, and I know I don't have permission, but I'm coming down. I'm crashing right now. And you're doing this false buildup of like,
Right.
people are talking to him. It must be people. That makes it so fucking stupid when he crashes. Because you imagine a monkey in a fucking radar comms just being like, oh, well, I got to look at, I do air traffic control and
Yeah.
something is coming in.
Right. It's restricted airspace, they're saying. He crashes into water a second time, too. So we're getting
In
two
the-
callbacks. Yeah.
The Ape-raham Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., which has that big pond or whatever in front of it.
The reflection pool.
Yeah. Crashes in that. He lands like on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, looks up to what should be the Lincoln statue, but instead it is a statue of General Thade in the same pose that Abraham Lincoln is in, like sitting on that chair. But for some reason, it's General Thade. And then police cars start pulling up. Monkeys get out. They're police monkeys or apes or whatever. And then the movie just kind of ends.
So
Yeah.
if there was a sequel, is our understanding that Tim Roth would have gotten out of the spaceship he was locked in, found another pod, piloted it almost like Zira and Cornelius do to escape the Planet
Right.
of the Apes exploding in the film that they do, through the purple mist, and would have ended up in Civil War times or
Yeah,
earlier?
It would have had to
Yeah.
have been earlier than, early enough that he becomes a famous figure in ape history on Earth, and then somehow apes take over
But
human
that's
society.
if he didn't bring, 50 other people of his population. How does he propagate enough to cover the fucking planet?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It's really bizarre, and it's like, how did General Thade time travel and beat Mark Wahlberg there? Like, Mark Wahlberg took
Same way
Pericles'
he
little
beat
ship.
Pericles. I mean, the
Purple
fucking
Mist doesn't
rules
care.
are. Seems like if you go in after someone, you come out before them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
The
what
stack.
happened is Tim Burton was like, I need a crazy twist like the original,
Yeah.
and thought of the twist and then worked backwards and said, okay, this doesn't really make any sense, but I'm just going to put it at the end of the movie. It's going to blow everyone's minds. That's going to be the last scene of the movie.
Now, Mike, can I blow up? I pray to God again. I hope this is not
No,
one of
it's
your
all
trivia
right.
questions. Kevin Smith, do you have a Kevin Smith question
don't.
in there? Okay. So the ending of this film famously came from a different comic book. Had a moment where it was revealed Ape-raham Lincoln, literally. I cannot remember what comic book this script's from. Kevin Smith called this out, to which Tim Burton responded, I would have never, gotten any direct stealing or homage from that because I don't read comic books. And Kevin Smith's comment was, yeah, I know. I've seen Batman. Obviously, you don't read comic books.
Wow.
Which to me is like, come on, man.
Yeah, we like Batman.
You know how popular Batman and Batman Returns were. That's not the burn you think it is.
Yeah,
dude.
come on, Kevin Smith. Chill
You
out.
also wrote that Superman movie he was trying to do. So, don't act like you guys weren't, connected in some weird karmic way.
We're going to make a weird Superman movie where he fights a giant spider.
No, that means nothing. You can't, you have no ammo there, dude.
No.
Yeah.
Unlike
I do like Tim
Fireball.
Burton sort of being elitist and saying, "Oh, I don't read comic books." It's like, yeah, I think you might have seen a comic. I mean, obviously, you
made
Mars
Batman.
Attacks trading card.
Yes,
so.
you are aware of nerd shit. You're not above any of this, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I hate that ending. I think a lot of people do. Ape shall never kill Abe, and he did it. Finally, I get to make that come all the way back around. But
yeah,
I thought it was enough of a twist in better writers' hands to be like, I need to get off this planet. Oh shit, I'm the cause of this. That's my space station. Like that, the space station coming for me.
Ending.
That's good.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And now
need
I'm stuck here.
Because we kind of glossed over. He's looking for his crew. He has this scanner that tells him the crew's here. They're here, ready to pick him up. And when he gets there, and he's like, "Oh, they've been here for thousands of years. I fucked this up." That's interesting. That's But to Jacob's point, that happens at minute 45, and then you're like, how much longer is this movie?
They discover the ship stuff, and then there's this whole big battle thing, and it's like, I paused the movie, 40 minutes left. I was like, oh god,
that can't be right.
Well, you also have the the Helm's Deep moment, like we got to get everyone ready. Like there's all these extended sequences, getting the troops prepared. It's like, come on.
A better ending would have been, he's just stuck there and has to make a new life with the humans and the apes working together and stuff.
Yeah.
But
of course, they wanted a crazy twist.
Take responsibility.
Yeah. But of course, they wanted a crazy twist to be an homage to the original that had a crazy twist.
Here's what you do, Jacob. Pericles' ships come down. It's exactly the same. He can't pilot and leave. It's exactly what you say.
Yeah, he's stuck there. He has
to stay. Cut to a year later, you see him hammer. He's wearing kind
Apes
of a
and
mix
humans
of
working together.
Ape outfit, human outfit. You see them working together. Then what's creeping out? A fucking sewer grate opens. A big fucking mutated head comes out. It's the fucking beneath things. I would have been like, fuck, this rules. Cut.
Sure.
It's like, that's
it's
what
another. It's an offshoot of the survivors of the space station that went underground and became nuclear
That's even
mutants.
if it had been his old boss and the comment with the nuclear engine, Mike. That's fucking good. We just fixed this thing. That's interesting.
God dang it. Yeah, it is. Because
you're welcome, Tim Burton.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about anybody, but then when he finds out, because I went after the monkey, they came after me, this is literally my fault. I guess I have to work on fixing this society. That's my responsibility now. Yeah.
He's married to
God, not
that's a character
Carter.
Videos. Yeah. Yes, he's married. He made a choice.
He chose the ape over the human. They have a little half ape, half human baby.
That's good.
That's
the twist. Yeah.
Hey, come here, Cornelius. And it's like a little monster that's half. It's literally split down the middle. He's got a giant arm.
Would have been a better twist than what we got.
That would
Yeah.
have been awesome. Yeah. It had so much potential, too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And why we named him Pericles after my best friend.
Mhm.
Like, Daddy,
Yeah.
tell me about my namesake Pericles.
He's some kind of half human, half ape abomination. Rick
Yeah.
Baker could have made a crazy design. Yeah.
Kind of
Can
like
we
Luther
say
from
the
Umbrella Academy.
non-Zira is hot? Like Helena Bonham Carter in the ape makeup is kind of hot.
Somehow they
I
pulled
didn't
it off.
want to say it. I was like, definitely, if I'm gonna be attracted to any of these apes, it's probably gonna be Ari. But yeah, she's pretty hot ape.
Yeah, good job, Rick Baker.
And she definitely has the most human-like qualities, I think, in the
Oh,
face
yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
She has almost no hair.
Yeah, by
She
design.
looks
Yeah.
very normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't get the good ending, so
No,
Gotta
we
mess
should
around.
or reshoot a better ending for that movie, re-release it.
and get the
Everyone's
sequel
still talking
greenlit.
about it, obviously.
If
Yeah.
you said to Mark Wahlberg, do you remember when you started Planet of the Apes? Do you think he would remember that he was in this movie?
I think he would,
Probably,
but he would deny
but-
it. He would know in his heart, though.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I wasn't in that. The Power of Jesus, actually. I was never in that.
I mean, this is probably not one of the ones he would deny, just because he's been in a lot of generic movies where he was the lead, and I feel like, yeah, the only movies that he seems to deny are the ones that he's good in, which is
Yeah.
strange.
So
But
he fully would acknowledge this one.
is there any other Mark Wahlberg movies that you like or performances that you like?
You've asked us this question before. I can't remember on what podcast, but where you made the announcement where you're like, he is in every and Ryan Reynolds famously you called the worst movie star of all time, so I'll never forget
Yes.
that. I see them as very similar to each other. I don't know. I like the other guys, that movie with him and Will Ferrell. I think that's super funny, but it's
Ted,
when he's
you're a big
playing
Ted
a parody of
fan.
himself. Unfortunately, you do know that I am a huge Ted fan. I wish it wasn't him in that, but I don't think he's
You
subtractive.
watch that more for Ted than for you just love.
I don't know who I watch. I something compels me. I don't know.
Sure. Seth
How about you,
MacFarlane.
Mike? Is there anything?
I mean, maybe Pain and Gain, but he's just himself.
Yeah, Pain and Gain's
Pain
really
and
funny.
Gain.
He's just
That is
loud
like the
and
best. That is
annoying.
one of my favorite Michael Bay movies for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Invincible. He was like that walk-on for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. Anytime he tries the prestige stuff. I mean, I used to. Here's another movie. Mike, will you look this up for me? Italian Job. I'm very curious when that came out because that was another DVD rewatch all the time.
The Italian Job.
2003.
Remaking a classic movie, so 2 years after this. For him to still be like, and I'm the guy you put in these movies that are remakes to see if people come out to them, and then they don't do too well, but because some people do like them, and it's like, yeah, I am one of those people, you fool.
The Departed.
The Departed.
He unfortunately is very good in that role. Again, I just don't.
But he doesn't, Jacob. He doesn't deny that one, but he does say things like, and Martin Scorsese didn't want to cast me, and then actually I was signed on for a sequel that they were building around my whole character that never came true. But people really love me.
He wanted to be the Leo or the Matt Damon in that movie. They're like, no, you're a side character.
Yes, he dunks on the people who take shots on him that work out great. That's what's so weird.
Yeah.
And instead he'll be like, Mel Gibson's my best friend, and you're like, what are you saying?
Yeah. Again, he's not a good person. Like, I don't like him as a person. He's obviously did a hate crime in the 90s. He's very Catholic, very very judgmental about his religiousness and other people, and he had that. I think he had that quote about 9/11. Speaking of 9/11, where he's like,
"I would.
Yeah, if I was on those planes, it would have gone down differently." That's all I'm saying.
1994, if I was there.
Oh man.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, what would you have done?
What would you tell me? Spell it out. What would you have done?
I would have said,
I would have beat those terrorists up,
Buster.
Yeah. Hey.
I would have took control of the
plane. Let me introduce you to my little friend Pericles.
Yeah.
Oh,
if he, he would have ended up on a.
But just a bad person, I think. I don't like him.
All around. Donnie, God Bless You, Donnie, starring in a couple Saw films, and then
Right.
he was in some.
Sixth
What
Sense.
boy band was Donnie Wahlberg in?
New
That's sort
Kids
of
on the Block.
that got them all into music. He was a fucking original New Kid on the Block, Jacob.
That's right.
Thank you. Jesus Christ.
The Wahlburgers. Come have some
Yeah.
of our burgers.
Well, Jacob, did you ever see Basketball Diaries with him and Leo when they were kids?
No, I haven't seen that one.
That's a prestige. I don't know that he's good. I mean, I remember watching that in high school and being like, wow, heroin's scary.
Oh,
I don't know.
Took away the
Again,
correct
I think he
message.
was,
Yeah.
back in the 2000s, he was going out for a lot of the same roles as like the Leos and the Matt Damons.
Yeah.
And sorry if this is on your quiz, Mike, but he was supposed to be in Ocean's 11.
You just poached me, but yes.
Oh, I'm
Really?
sorry.
It's all right.
He was supposed to be in the I think the Matt Damon role
was the Matt
in
Damon
Ocean's
role,
11.
No.
And
Yeah.
he turned that down to do this instead.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So
no.
maybe not the right choice there.
Hey, sorry, George. Sorry, Brad. Did you hear? I'm starting the new Planet of the Apes films.
It was Tim
Oh,
Burton.
okay.
Yeah.
Great.
The guy
So
who
sorry to
gave
poach
Mars
your
attacks.
quiz. I'm
No,
really
it's fine.
sorry.
It's a fun fact. We'll
Yeah.
make do. We'll make do.
Hopefully there's enough questions. But speaking of you quizzed it up, you damn dirty
Speaking of.
apes.
Yes. Let's do it. I think if we're ready to take the final test on the all-flight check, see if Pericles can get this thing.
Let's
Ready to
head
quiz
to
it all to
the
hell.
forbidden place and take this. We're back. Here on Normies Like Us, we have gone in reverse through the purple clouds, so everything's fine now. We're
Yeah.
back on Earth. We haven't looked
It's
at it,
normal. They're not
Oh,
apes.
yes, but we assume everything's okay.
Yes.
Again, just remember that this Planet of the Apes is a different planet. It's not Earth in the future. It's a totally different planet.
It is
That
a
just
true
is
planet
crazy to
of
me.
apes.
Yeah.
Which is why it's fine. I guess they don't have a lawgiver. They had a completely unique
Yeah.
evolutionary path. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
let it
Yeah. We're
slide.
still the name, Zeus came up. You're like, okay.
Yeah. No.
All right.
It's a common simian name, I guess. But we're here for You Quiz It Up, You Maniacs. You Quiz It All to Hell. As you know, the popular segment returns.
2001 edition.
That's right.
2001
Which,
edition.
again, yeah, Charlton Heston does say that line in this movie. It doesn't really make any sense that he's like, damn it all to hell, and then just dies.
His
But
last words, reaching out to his son. The humans, damn them all to hell. Ah!
So they do have a concept of heaven and hell.
Yeah, it's like Zemo
so,
sends
yeah.
you to hell if you're bad, I guess. Like
Yeah.
the literal HE double hockey sticks hell. That's crazy.
It's modeled
Yeah.
after the reform centers from Conquest. But we're here. We got some quiz questions. Some of them got poached, but we can see what we can do about that. We should have enough here. The status, the rules, as you know. True or false? 1 means true, 2 means false. We're going to wait till they lock it in, reveal for the video.
you can
For
still ask
listeners,
the
you'll
ones
have to
that,
trust us. I
we
might.
said already.
Yeah, we'll see if we remember.
Yeah, but if you're ready, let's get this started.
Ocean's 11.
Exactly. Question number 1. Mark Wahlberg was so excited to work on this film that he agreed after only a 5-minute meeting. True or false? He also said, I would take any role in the movie.
Interesting. Wait, one for true, 2 for false?
1 for
That's
true, 2 for
just to
false.
remember.
He wanted to work with Tim Burton so bad, he agreed after 5 minutes and said he'd take whatever role he was offered.
I'm ready.
I'm locked
ready.
in.
3, 2, 1, reveal.
Say true.
I'm
Jacob
saying
says true.
false
Colin
to
says
that.
false. It is true.
He was so impressed by Tim Burton. He didn't even need a script. He was just like, look, I'm going to be with some monkeys. Some monkeys,
Yep.
I guess? I don't know.
In the behind the scenes that I watched today, he's like, yeah, I talked to him for about 5 minutes. I said, I'm on board. Whatever you want me to do. Just, yeah, I want to do it. His words.
Wow.
That was a
think
question.
I'll be the next Beetlejuice, because I'm so charismatic.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
right? No, you can just be juiced and make pain and gain. So that question originally was about the Ocean's 11. It was originally, he dropped out of that after the 5-minute
There we
meeting,
go.
but I could just omit that. So we're in the clear.
Right.
There we go.
Yeah.
This one's a little bit technical, a little bit off the wall, but
And that was a good, by the way, decision for Ocean's 11.
Oh,
Because Matt
yes.
Damon
Yes.
is a better actor than Mark
now that's a
Wahlberg.
good movie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it always kind of bugged me that the two brothers, the Scott Conn and Casey Affleck, why isn't Scott Conn just Ben Affleck?
Ben Affleck,
Why isn't
yeah.
it just the two actual
And his best
brothers?
friend Matt Damon is in the movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ben
that's
Affleck.
it. Like it
Should have been Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Ben and Casey.
so crazy.
Just a
in
bunch
one
of
side of
Boston guys.
Right, the townies. One side of the purple wormhole, that movie exists. The original Planet of the Apes was shot in Panavision anamorphic format, and this was coincidentally the only film Tim Burton ever shot on Panavision anamorphic format. True or false?
Mm,
I'm locked in.
I'm locked
Honor
in.
the original. All right, 3, 2, 1, reveal.
I'll say true.
I'll say false.
Ooh, okay.
Because
It's
I think
another
it's going to be
split.
some kind of twist where it's not the only one that he filmed like that.
Jacob's learning my format because it is false. It is
Damn it.
false.
I know you're trying to
Colin,
trick
I'm
us.
sorry. The
Fucking
other
Sleepy
film,
Hollow. What is it?
it's Mars Attacks. Weirdly
Oh.
enough.
Ah.
I can't
Okay.
remember if that movie looks good and we just watched
No.
it. Yeah.
But if he's going for throwback to like the Planet of the Apes era vibes or like schlock 50s, 60s stuff, the Panavision anamorphic look,
Yeah.
maybe that's why he chose that.
Does this movie have good
Interesting.
cinematography? I think you said you liked it, Mike.
I think
I
it's
guess-
serviceable. It's fine.
It's more, I think, it's not necessarily the cinematography. It's like the
Yeah.
in-camera tricks. Like when they're running on the ground along
Right.
the horses, they're like being pulled on a mat, so they're on all
Oh,
fours
sure.
faster than the horses. Like there's really cool technique that is captured in camera, but it's not cinematography.
Yeah. I will say,
Yeah.
I think the cinematography is fine. I think the locations and the sets, the costumes, like the makeup, all that stuff makes it maybe makes it look better. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they shoot up at Lake Powell where the original one was. Like they go to the original location. for a
yeah, the
couple
locations
scenes.
look
Does-
great. There's some really great locations.
So,
in the
can I ask you guys an overall question since we're again wrapping up on Tim and then we'll, of course,
Yes.
get back to the quiz? Do any of his movies have great cinematography, or is it always
Ooh.
production design and costumes that stand out?
That's a
Hmm.
good question. I'd have to think.
I would have
Again,
to
maybe
rewatch, like,
some.
Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow and Big Fish. I maybe have good cinematography. I'd have to rewatch them.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
he's
Batman
never-
Returns does not have good cinematography. The weird shifts between handheld and static in that, like we talked about Catwoman tearing up her room,
Yeah.
Right.
it only kind of works because of the set deck, not really how it's shot.
And we like it
Yeah.
because it feels stagey. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
they all feel very stagey. You're right. Yeah.
And
That's
got
the thing.
you
Yeah, I
to the
think he's
point.
always been a very set focused, a very production design focused director, but less camera focused. Like he hires someone to do the camera, and he doesn't really care about that as much.
And this felt pretty studio as far as how it's shot. You know, it's a pretty
Yeah.
workman or whatever, journeyman.
Yeah.
But yeah, question 3 was about Tim Roth and saying he would have refused if he knew Charlton Heston was going to be in it.
Yes.
But
Right.
a follow-up question, sort of, here for what will now be number 3. Both Charlton Heston and Linda Hamilton have cameos in this film.
Oh.
True or
Linda
false?
Okay, I'm ready.
Hamilton was the original
Nova.
Zero?
The
Or she was the
original
original Nova. Okay.
Correct.
I'm
I'm
locked
locked
in.
in.
All right, 3, 2, 1, reveal.
False.
True.
Jacob's going
Now this
on a run
might
here.
be
It's true.
not fair because I may have known this already. But she was like a human in the cart when they first put them in the
Yes.
cart, right?
Do they
Like an old
pay
woman.
any special? I mean, Charlton Heston gets his own
It's
whole
like a blink and you
scene.
missed it moment. Yeah.
I
That's
think
bullshit.
the bit to me seems to be because he's like, "Where are we? Where are we?" And like, it's a lady who looks at him and just shakes her head and doesn't speak. So to like,
Right.
imply,
Oh,
like,
I
don't
do
talk.
remember
Yeah.
that, but that's not enough to honor the woman who's in the
No,
original.
no,
That,
she probably
has
she
to get the
whole
should have
scene.
been.
Yeah.
She should have been fucking Chris Christopherson's wife. I mean,
Right.
it's like, what's the difference there?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a bit of a bummer because she came back and had to hang out with Brent too.
Yes.
Like,
I guess because she just
We
never
watched her get
talks in those
murdered.
movies, it makes sense that she
she
doesn't
almost
talk,
got
right?
drowned. That's not fair. So
Oh my
sorry,
God.
Colin. That's Jacob's
I
on
hate
fire.
that for her.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
happy you're
I'm
winning.
sorry.
But for a long time, I had only believed that only Charlton Heston returned in this movie, and then
Yeah.
lo and behold, a one shot basically.
I mean, when my dad after the movie was like, and the guy from the original one played a monkey in this one, and he hated the monkeys in the other one. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, it was exciting. I didn't know it, but yeah, I don't know.
And to just give someone a gun, it's so ironic and funny.
Oh, crazy.
I was wondering how old Tim Roth is supposed to be because like he's playing his dad, but like Tim Roth is already like an older, or he has gray in his beard too, in the like his chimp beard. So
well, like
I was a little
silverbacks
confused by
get
that.
silver once they like reach sexual maturity, so the gray hair might not be
true.
indicative of age. He's a chimpanzee.
Well, Mike, and of course, you just remind me of my favorite line when Paul Giamatti says, "Remember to throw your human away before she goes through puberty. You never want to have a human around when they're going
human
through
teenagers.
that stuff."
Yeah,
a human teenager in your household. Yeah, you never want that. That was good.
Right.
All right. Well, next question then. During pre-production and production of this film, Tim Burton had hopes and plans for a sequel. However, it never happened due to the poor critical reception. True or false?
Okay, I'm locked in.
I'm locked in.
All right. 3, 2, 1, reveal.
False.
True.
False. Ooh, that's your first L, Jacob. That is false, Colin. When asked in an interview,
I was thinking like, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'll just get this out of the way. He is quoted saying he would rather jump out of window than direct the sequel.
Oh, that's right. I did read that. Yeah, after the movie came out, he was like, "Yeah, I'd rather jump out of a window than do another one of these."
I mean, other than Returns, and of course,
yeah, he's not a big sequel guy.
He's not a big sequel guy. Yeah,
no.
But I was thinking maybe he would do a sequel for this. But yeah, obviously he probably didn't like working on it that much.
What would you have called it? Would you have called it Beneath again?
Return to the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because it would have to follow, like, it wouldn't pick up the thread of Mark Wahlberg's character, so it would have to like follow new characters or something. I don't even know what it would be.
How would you follow Mark Wahlberg's character? He like leads the human revolution like Caesar did in Conquest. Like you just
I guess it's just that backwards.
President of the Planet of the Apes and be about Thade becoming Ape-raham Lincoln.
That sounds like such a bad
Candidacy
idea.
of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Election of a planet of
Civil War of the Planet of the Apes.
Civil War. Yeah.
Deal with the caste system. No humans.
Then obviously they decided to just go a different direction for 2011.
You know what? Fuck this. Let's hire
James Franco.
Yeah, let's hire somebody who's not problematic at all, like Marky Mark.
Yeah, he's not going to just sleepwalk through this role. Definitely.
No.
Hey, brother, guys, how are you? You're my ape, Caesar. I love you. We're curing Alzheimer's, Caesar. Oh,
man.
Are you on like lithium?
Yeah, that was a weird stage of James Franco's career, maybe the last stage. So we'll talk about that.
Thank God he didn't continue into the rest of those movies, though. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, next question. Tim Burton included a secret Easter egg to one of his earlier films, Beetlejuice, in the background of a shot where there's an ape wearing a black and white striped suit. True or false?
Beetle ape.
Beetle ape. Don't say it again.
No, we don't want to see that.
We don't want Beetle ape showing up.
Oh no!
Oh shit!
Oh my god!
All right, I'm locked in.
I'm locked in.
3, 2, 1, reveal.
I have no idea, but I'm going to say true. That sounds like a fun.
Colin's got 2 in a row now. It's not true.
Damn it.
It's made up.
That would be fun, though. That would be fun.
Just way in the background.
Yeah.
They run past the teenage greaser apes in leather jackets when they're escaping.
Yes,
what's
I
that
thought that
all
was really strange because it's all medieval society and suits of armor and stuff. And you have this greaser gang of teens wearing cool leather jackets.
Did you notice they have some sort of hookah or bong as well that they're passing around?
I have a fun fact about that that's related to this. There was no Beetlejuice cameo, but one of the hookah smoking apes is Rick Baker making a cameo. So there you go.
Very cool.
Wow.
But yeah, so I'm glad we got to tie in that fun fact.
All right, Colin's catching up now. I had a hot start.
It's 2 to 3. It's 2 to 3. This one you might both already know. We maybe touched on it earlier, but Mark Wahlberg refused to wear a loincloth because he didn't want to remind people of his underwear modeling career. True or false?
I'll say true.
I assume. Yeah, true. Both get marks for that. Got it. Get it?
Marky marks.
Full marks. Yeah.
Marky marks.
Okay.
But Calvin Klein. The people that want to see me in the Calvin Klein, they don't want to see me in a loincloth. That's dumb.
They should have called his character Calvin.
Wasn't that Back to the Future, Michael J. Fox?
They think
when he goes to the past.
Calvin
Yeah, because it's written on his underwear.
His mom.
Well, the name is written on your underwear.
That's so funny.
Well, do you want to say, just because you said Michael J. Fox real quick, Jacob, what's behind you?
Oh yeah, what's the tie-in?
Well, again, maybe another foreshadowing here, but I just thought, I got Teen Wolf right here, and I thought, hairy makeup effects. It's kind of like an ape, not really,
It's
but the
ape-like.
closest pop that I have.
Right.
What if Rick Baker was like, well, I can't wait to do Play Dates. I just got off of fucking Teen Wolf on campus. Yeah, whatever it's
Did
called.
he do Teen Wolf?
I don't think
we need
anybody did Teen Wolf.
We'll look it up before final thoughts. I don't think
I think
anybody did Teen
I
Wolf.
think Michael J. Fox was gluing that stuff on himself day of. I don't think there was a makeup artist.
Sure.
All right. Well, next question then. It's 4-3. One separation.
Wow.
So Tim Burton became adamant to use as many practical effects as possible after being largely disappointed with the CGI used in Mars Attacks. True or false?
I'm locked in.
I'm locked in.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Reveal.
False.
That sounds true to me.
Ooh, Colin's caught up. It's tie
What
game.
the hell
it's false.
is going
Jacob,
on?
He never falls out of love with CGI. Think about the rest of his career. He loves CGI.
You're throwing.
You're right.
That's
You're
four.
right.
That's a 4-point swing.
This
I
is
didn't bring
bullshit.
this up on our Mars Attacks episode, but I re-listened to the Blank Check podcast episode where they talk about it, and Griffin Newman has the best line I've ever heard where he says, introducing Tim Burton to CGI on the set of Mars Attacks is like introducing Courtney Love to Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, that's a disaster.
That's funny.
You are
It's interesting
leading
that-
to your death. Yeah.
Yeah. He goes back to practical for this. He does Sleepy Hollow, which is like mostly practical and stuff. I
Extremely
think.
practical, yeah.
Yeah. But then in the 2000s, he's like, fuck it. Let's just go crazy with the CG. You get like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Alice in Wonderland, all these crazy. I mean, Alice in Wonderland is an insane looking movie.
Mike,
right?
have you seen that?
It's like I can't be compelled. Like it doesn't seem to have
It's
the
so
substance
strange.
for me.
It's wild.
And Helena Bonham Carter in that movie looks insane because like
The
she's
giant
like
head,
changing
right?
the way people's bodies are shaped with CGI somehow. So she's like the Red Queen or whatever, and she's got like a huge head. It's very strange.
Weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of weird, here's.
But I don't like how this quiz has gone, to be honest with
I
you.
do.
It's high game right now.
You're tied up. That's what's
I'm loving
important.
it.
This is some
It's
BS.
thrilling. Here's number
How many
9.
do we have left?
I have 2 more.
Okay. What if
So
we
it's
need a
tie right
tiebreaker?
now.
Okay.
Well, there's been ties all the way through this.
You're right.
There's
You're
still no
right.
definitive
right.
winner. However,
Every
this
time.
question.
That's why I need to win.
This one might be a split. Let's see if you're clever. Oliver Stone was originally going to take a stab at an Apes remake in 1993 starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. True or
Oliver
false?
Stone.
With Arnold Schwarzenegger
would've
in the
been-
lead. Get your hands off me, you damn dirty apes.
Yeah, probably as
kinda
more of a
love
Charlton
that.
Heston type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would be shirtless probably.
Uh-huh.
All right. I'm
Locked
locked in, I guess.
I'm locked down.
All right. 3, 2, 1, reveal.
False.
I'll say true just because
Oh.
I want it to be true.
Jacob, it is true. Colin, I'm sorry.
Damn it.
Here's the thing. That is
Yes.
true. And then later, James Cameron was even signed on to produce and write a 1997
Wow.
version, which he stepped out of to do Titanic. They would try to
Well,
reboot
good
this
decision
thing for
by
a
him.
while.
Smart,
Yeah.
Smart.
Yep.
Smart decision for him to make the highest grossing movie of all time at that point instead.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. I know this bounced around a lot and that Tim Burton was not the top choice. Eventually, it kind of came to him, but
Yeah.
I certainly did not think an Oliver Stone film. That seems
Oliver
incredibly
Stone.
atypical to his
That-
Yeah,
that
who
was
killed
pretty wild.
Ape FK, you know?
Well, the Ape-raham Lincoln thing at the end maybe makes more sense now. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Right.
funny.
We
Yeah,
got to
how
get
much
these
we-
apes out of Vietnam.
That's funny. All right. The last question I have lined up here. Ron Perlman was almost cast in the Michael Clark Duncan role of General Attar. True or false?
That sounds okay. I'm locked in.
I'm locked in.
All right. 3, 2, 1, reveal.
That sounds
Extremely
very true to
believable.
me.
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, I got you guys both. It's false.
What? Oh man.
But Rick Baker did use Ron Perlman in the makeup test before production was starting to see if it was going to work. He said, "Hey, Ron, you got a minute?" And they made him into a character he called Sarge, and just to see if it was going to work out.
Like, Google who did Hellboy's makeup.
Exactly. I was thinking that too. Yeah.
I'm curious if that's Rick
Oh,
Baker.
yeah.
And then we need to look up Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep just listeners, bear with us for a minute. We got some Googling to do.
You know,
so,
there's they remade
Rick
Teen
Baker,
Wolf as
makeup
a TV
consultant.
show.
Makeup
Wow.
on
consultant.
Hellboy.
Yes.
Okay, wow.
And then
What'd
Teen
you just
Wolf.
say, Jacob?
Well, I'm looking into Teen Wolf.
Thank you.
But do you know they remade Teen Wolf, of course, as a more dramatic TV show?
Oh, I hate
Oh,
that.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that went on for like a long time. That had
Do
like
you know that
6
I've
seasons.
only ever seen Teen Wolf 2 starring Justin Bateman? I've never seen the
You've never
original.
seen the
I've never seen the original. I haven't
Not
either.
all the way through, I don't think.
I've never
Okay.
seen either of them, I don't think.
Well, maybe we can watch all the Teen Wolf content when we run out of Apes movies.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
looking
our
at
next- we
makeup.
should
I'm not
announce
seeing
that's our
anything
next
about
long form.
who did the makeup on Teen Wolf.
Right.
I don't
Nobody
think it
did.
was, I don't think it was Rick Baker.
I don't think
No.
anyone did.
We'll get to the bottom of it. But before that, let's just say, Jacob, right now, congratulations on,
I win?
yeah, you have the 1-point lead.
And
no
so
more
far, the
questions?
definitive winner of the Quizzed It Up You Maniacs. We've tied
true?
all the other ones. This is
Except
the first
this
Oh,
one.
I
winner.
forgot.
You've
I thought
pulled
Colin
away.
won all of the previous
No,
ones.
you've totally tied
I
all
think
the
I
original
swept
5.
Pirates. Yeah.
Pirates,
Yeah.
you did great.
Okay.
Yeah, Pirates, you're
Yeah.
a champion. But congratulations. We'll figure out the Teen Wolf makeup artist when we come back for final thoughts right after this.
We're back here on Normies Like Us, where we're not only talking about the conclusion of 2001, Planet of the Apes. We're also talking about the end of our little run here with our boy, our little gothic weirdo.
Sep-Tim-Bur-Ton.
Mhm.
That's right. Timmy is going to sleep. He was relevant. He shall not rise again until we're on our 5-year anniversary of covering the Wednesday show with season 2, when
Right.
we will
Well-
discuss him once more.
Mhm.
Yeah, interestingly, because I just saw a trailer for Wednesday season 2 coming out in 2025.
On
Wow.
what? Where did you
on
see
the
that?
interwebs. Yeah, so
That
it
was
came out
just
today.
dropped? Dog.
Sort of
My-
I think it was a
my-
teaser. It wasn't a full trailer.
My
Maybe.
set Google search for Jenna Ortega is letting me down. That's horrifying.
I don't like that Google search, but yeah. Well, I was going to ask you guys about Tim Burton. Like, are you going to
Mhm.
watch any of his more of his movies for like Spooktober? 30 days of Spooktober. You could watch Sleepy Hollow,
I'm
Sweeney
definitely going
Todd.
to watch that. Here's what I
Yeah.
continued on. I just watched Ed Wood, which is one of my absolute favorites of his and a movie I adore. Watching it now as an adult, I have not seen it since college. I'm like, this movie, very underappreciated. This movie fucking
Yeah.
rules. So I think I am going to keep going. And I asked Mike if he had seen Alice in Wonderland because I kind of have the itching to watch a disaster
Oh,
too. I
boy.
might try to track that down.
Remember, there's a sequel to that too that Tim Burton didn't direct. It's a different
Through the
director.
Looking Glass. Yes,
Oh,
yes,
geez.
yes.
I don't know.
But yes, Sleepy Hollow is definitely one I want to revisit in October. Maybe Sweeney Todd too. I don't
Sweeney.
know.
Wait,
Um,
Todd.
The
The
Demon
Demon
Barber
Barber
of
of
Fleet Street. Yeah, just depends how much you can, tolerate musicals and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And Johnny Depp,
Yeah. I'll throw Sleepy Hollow on the spooktacular run through at least.
Yeah, Nightmare
but-
Before Christmas, classic.
Yep, not his direction though.
No, but he
No,
produced-
but we did say in here we were joking about Wednesday will come back. No, we kind of called out. We'll probably do a Nightmare episode for Christmas or around Christmas.
Yes.
This year. So
Well, we can
be
have the
back
debate.
and talk a little bit about him. Yes.
Yeah, is it a
Mhm.
Halloween movie or is it a Christmas movie? That's the debate that we'll have.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that. But
Sure.
yeah. Final thoughts on the old Planet of the Ape-Arenas, right?
You know
Yeah.
that's making me laugh.
Hmm.
We talked so much about how he's the king of Hot Topic. You go to Hot Topic, there ain't no fucking Planet of the Apes. merch.
no.
No.
But again, I think this is the least Tim Burton-ish Tim Burton movie out of
That's
all
a
of
good
them,
call.
maybe. Yeah, it's
Well,
got like the
maybe
least
they
amount of
got
his style.
But that just seems because he's so off format there.
Yeah. I haven't even
Yeah.
seen Big Eyes, so I can't even comment on that. Or
Yeah.
Dumbo. But even stuff like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like he's taking a an established IP, but putting his own style to it, where obviously you're never going to confuse his Willy Wonka with, the
Anybody
original.
else's?
Do you
Willy
guys
Wonka.
like that one?
Not really.
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
I just like
think
Gene
it's
Wilder. Gene Wilder is
Yeah.
such a good Willy Wonka
Yeah,
to
it's
me
fine,
that-
but I would never choose it over Gene Wilder's.
I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of dig the Johnny as Michael Jackson stuff. I don't know. I think it's weird and
It's-
just so bizarre.
I like the
Yeah.
squirrels.
The squirrels, yeah, sure.
Like, there's some interesting,
Yeah.
that's definitely a Tim Burton movie. Like the choices being
Right.
for sure.
Those are real, Mike. Those are real squirrels.
That makes me happy. Unless they were harmed, then it makes me unhappy.
And Colin, how would you rank that with the Timothy Chalamet Wonka movie? Those
God,
three, how
right.
would you rank that?
A film I did not remember existed
Me
until you
neither.
just said it.
Yeah.
Boy, which
Don't
I
forget
had
about
a
that.
good time watching, I'm pretty sure, according to my letterbox, and then I've never thought about it again. Yeah, I don't
Right.
know.
Interesting. Well,
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
Tim
but
Burton.
Tim
For
Burton.
this movie,
Yeah.
like I said, for this movie, the script isn't good. The plot isn't very interesting. The lead character is very bad and boring. But again, I love the makeup. I love the production design, the costumes, the set design, the city, the Ape City
Mhm.
looks so good. So there is stuff that I like in it. It's just I just wish it was better. Like I wish all that production design was in service of a better movie.
The mix of a good cast and a bad cast somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I like all the ape supporting characters. I think they're more interesting than the main character. I like HBC. I like Tim Roth. But yeah, it's pretty generic when it comes down to it, and it's just kind of a letdown. Although I don't think it's Tim Burton's worst movie, so I'll say that. Like I think it's maybe overstated as his worst movie. If people think that.
Something I'm looking at the BTS book here that just reminded me. He says a special shout out to my composer Danny Elfman. The music in this is not special considering the weird staccato.
No, it's very generic.
Yeah.
There's a couple. I feel like there's a couple references to the original soundtrack.
But the original is so
very
iconic.
subtle. Yeah.
Yeah. Jerry Goldsmith. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. When
Any
I
other
think-
thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, my takeaway from this is like I agree with Jacob. I like a lot of the craft, and when you watch the behind the scenes and stuff, you feel like the people working on this were like, dude, it's like a fucking dream that I'm getting to work
Yeah.
on a Planet of the Apes movie. Like I can't believe
Yes.
it, and that's
Again, it's the
awesome
end of
for
an
them.
era. Yeah, it's like the end of an era with the makeup and the practical effects.
We started with
Can I
Roddy,
throw this
guys.
out?
Yeah,
Yes.
and now here we are.
This something that a term I always like to use, and you guys have heard me use it a bunch. I brought it up on Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Is the last one that I called this. Is this a party movie? If this is on mute at a party, does this film work? Because it looks so interesting.
Probably, yeah. Just have it on the background. Yeah. Again, because like if you squint, it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of like Lord of the Rings, but with apes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so weird that they came out the same year.
We do have Lord of the Planet of the Apes returning in this planet with Semos or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I just think my thing is I appreciate that they did stick to their guns and not make a ton of like they did kind of what they were saying, a reimagining. But as someone who we just came off the original 5. It took 5 movies to really build out like a cohesive mythology of that world with like Ape shall not kill ape, and like that wasn't in the first movie. It took a while to build up to Caesar and all this kind of stuff that I like kind of revere in cinema. Is like I love those movies. So to just throw it all away, strong choice. You stuck with it, but I don't know if I would have made that choice.
No.
And
the
fact
new movies choose to not do that.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting that Tim Burton sees this as a reimagining, and it is in some ways, but also I don't feel like it's different enough from the original to really be called a reimagining. Like it has the same basic premise. And so I don't know, it's an interesting one to adapt and try to make his own, but I think obviously he was ultimately a failure.
Yeah. I heard there's a lot of studio kind of pressure in messing with this too. Like they were
Oh, sure.
increasing. They had like a hard release date, so they didn't have as much time as they wanted. The script was being rewritten a lot, so there was some studio
Right.
problem. I don't think it's all on Tim Burton. I think it is
That
like
makes
a paint
sense.
by numbers studio movie.
Can I rapid fire you guys and
Mhm.
just get some yes and no's on the ones we haven't talked about yet? And can you just tell me
Yeah.
if you've seen them?
Hmm.
Dark Shadows.
No.
I think I saw that, but I don't remember anything about it. So
Not a
maybe
good
I didn't
sign.
see it.
How about Corpse Bride?
I've seen that. Yeah.
Okay. Mike?
It's fine.
No.
No. How about Frankenweenie?
I've seen, so that was an original short that he did, and then he expanded it into a full feature-length movie in like 2019. And I never saw the feature-length version, but I have seen the original short. So
I've also only seen the short. I don't think anything after this that was Tim Burton really attracted me. To be
yeah,
fair.
We talked about Miss Peregrine's. That's a no from both of you. Big Eyes. That's a no from both of you. Dumbo. No from both of you. You guys realize that's a decade of his films you guys haven't watched
Yeah.
leading up to Beetlejuice. Because somebody
Yeah.
that we talked about was so influential for our generation. To just throw him in the trash, it feels like a lot of people did do that.
They should.
But it's interesting because
they were right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think I've seen all his movies in the 2000s, in that decade, but like none of his movies in the 2010s.
When he was good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like 2000s, I've seen Sweeney Todd, I've seen Alice in Wonderland, I've seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Hmm.
What else am I missing there?
I'm sure I'm missing a ton. I mean, I remember liking Big Fish, but I don't remember with that. That's like the similar era to this, like a little earlier,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Big
Absolutely.
Fish, Sweeney Todd and Big Fish were kind of like, or Sleepy
Mike,
Hollow and Big Fish were kind of after
The
that.
disaster that this film is, having two kind of back-to-backs with Mars Attacks, yes, Sleepy Hollow in there, making a little bit of money, and then straight into this disaster, Planet of the Apes. He went to Big Fish as I am serious, I can get awards, I should
more
be a
personal
revered
movie.
director. Yes.
After the
Mhm.
big IP movie.
Wow.
Right.
And then
do that,
immediately
yes.
back into it with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So.
And then you know what? I am Timmy Burton. I do love money, so give me.
my girlfriend needs a job.
Yes.
Let's get Helena Bonham Carter. Let's get Johnny Depp.
Well, she's all over Big Fish. Don't act like she's
Oh.
not in that. She plays,
Oh,
yeah.
I believe, 3 roles in that film.
Right. No, every one of his movies for like 15 years had Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter in them somehow.
Yeah.
I remember her saying, "I can't sing," and he cast me as Mrs. Lovitz in
Right.
Sweet Todd. Patty LuPone. Jacob, you're watching that Agatha show right now. Like literally
Oh.
the queen of
I
Broadway,
wouldn't say
who people are like, yes, you love that show.
I wouldn't say I'm
You know,
watching
but, like,
it. I watched the first episode.
what people call the definitive Mrs. Lovitz. It's like he's like, no, I'm not getting anyone who sings. My wife will be starring in this movie. It's like, okay, you got it. And she
Yeah,
does a good
Sweeney
job,
Todd-
I think.
That's one I need to rewatch too. But it's interesting that he would take on a Broadway musical.
Yeah.
Not being really a musical guy, but obviously it has sort of his aesthetic, and then getting Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter, 2 actors that are not really known
They
for
don't sing.
singing. I
And
guess
Johnny does
Depp
like
has
a David
band.
Bowie impression.
Yeah,
Yeah, he is a vampire of Hollywood. You
He
are
has a crazy
correct.
band with a
Jacob.
bunch of like old rock stars.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
but I
a
really think that
savage,
he's
dude.
just in that because they like hanging out with Johnny Depp. I don't think he's
Yeah.
that musically talented, really, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. But that again feels like a Tim Burton movie. Like I've seen that one, you know.
Yeah,
It's just like if I into my Apple TV right now is like Dark Shadows, it would be like, no, this is never streaming. Like Apple TV would be like, that's like
Right.
illegal what you just asked me. Like a lot of this stuff, it feels like is disappearing too.
but you can
Oh.
see why Beetlejuice is people are considering it like, oh, Tim Burton's back, because he just hasn't made a movie that got any kind of buzz
It's not
to it.
Dog
10
shit,
years.
dog shit.
Yeah.
I
It's
like it
just
more than the last
bad.
2 that we've covered. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it has that going for it. I mean, we
I guess.
we can debate about that movie forever if we
reliving
want.
it.
The Beetlejuice episode.
The Debatejuice, Debatejuice.
I stand by,
Yeah.
it's not a great movie,
I'll be a
but
moderator. I'm in the
it's a
middle.
lot of fun. And
Well, you will
yeah.
be. 'Cause you are the ghost with the most, Mike.
Yeah, you know, bub.
We're getting Joe's impression from our
Lie.
chat that we
Yes.
had asked.
He says it is bad, so I win.
Well, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
That's
We're at
two
our space
bads and
station.
okay and a good. Yeah.
Well, we've got friend of the show, Matt, said he's 100% on my team. So
That's
thank you,
right.
Matt.
That's right. Minette liked it too. Dedicated
Yeah.
listener.
So we're getting some pro Beetlejuice
Who
voices.
brought
in
up a
here.
good point that it's not as soulless as that Hocus Pocus 2, which is the exact same genre, comedy,
Yeah.
Sure.
horror.
Not that that's like a
childhood
high bar
nostalgia.
or anything.
No, but that movie is horrible.
But
Yeah,
if you're
I
talking
haven't
cash
seen it.
grab legacy sequel, like that's that.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like for that kind of movie, I thought it's better than a lot of these. It's better than those Ghostbuster movies. I'll stand by that.
Yeah. Again,
I haven't
you
seen any of those either.
Yeah.
Buddy,
But
keep walking. You don't
yeah,
need
but let me
to.
bring us around to the post-mortem on the apes. I do, for as much as I don't like this movie generally, plot-wise, again, love the craft, it is kind of sad to think that this is the last apes movie with practical makeup. Like, it is
Physical.
done. Jacob's
That's what I'm
not
saying. Yeah.
understating that. Yeah.
A
Are you
decade
guys
later, we're going full
excited?
CG.
Are you excited to enter the CG era?
Well, it's interesting because we've got, obviously Andy Serkis, this whole movement of
Speaking of
all
Gollum
these
earlier in the
performance
episode.
artists. Yeah, the performance artists behind the character. Like there's still a lot of craft there in the acting. Like everything
there
that
is.
character is doing is what the actor is doing. And then they just kind of paint over the CG on top of it.
I appreciate
it's
the
a-
realism of them. Like, I like that it's
Yeah.
a chimpanzee scaled chimpanzee, and doing that kind of version of it, I'm interested in revisiting.
That's what's interesting with this movie too, is it's kind of a mix
Halfway.
because they're more human-like, but they're also doing ape things like jumping around and hanging on things at times. So I like that they are not totally human-like, like sort of in the originals, they're just walking
But
around talking and stuff.
Here's what I'm excited about. We left an era of total catchphrases that just stay in my mind. Damn dirty apes. Apes shall not kill apes. We did this one with nothing. Now we're about to enter Caesar is home. Apes together strong. Like these mantras that I fucking zero in on, and I think these movies are like, we get it. That's what these are about. I am pumped. I haven't seen these movies
I'm
in
excited.
a long time either.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like we said before, like I think all four of these newer movies are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is maybe the least good one, but I still like it. And like I said, it's sort of got a soft spot for me. So we'll talk about that in November. But I just really like a subplot in this movie too. So I'm pretty excited to get into the new Apes. Yeah.
Like, there's no bad movies in the new Apes series. I think we can argue there's some bad movies in the original 5 movies, but they still have fun in them, in their being badness. And then this one is just, the bad parts are not fun at all, and that just it's so sad that all that love in the craft, this is the best we could do for them.
Right.
Like, that sucks.
Well, I'll say, yeah, the new ones, even the fourth one, the new one that just came out where they're jumping ahead from the Caesar storyline, I was like, there's no way this one's going to be good. And then I did like it. So I'm excited to revisit that soon. And
Jake and I got to fight in the movie theater over it.
Yeah, we almost had to fight a guy.
Defend our lives. So
yeah.
we'll talk about that in a month or two, or 4 months, I guess.
Yeah, right.
But this one, where would you rank this compared to the older ones? Because I probably would actually put this ahead of Battle for the Planet of the Apes, and maybe Beneath the Planet of the Apes as the two worst of the older ones.
Beneath. It's over Battle for sure for me now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just too much of a loyalist to the old ones. Like, we get ape shall not kill ape. We get that in Battle. Battle's bad, but we get Roddy McDowell. I get to watch Roddy McDowell be in a movie. Like, I'd rather do that than watch Mark Wahlberg.
Well, I've got a spooky movie for you that I'll talk about in Spooktober that I watched with Roddy McDowell appearance. So that's fun.
I would put the TV show Planet of the Apes over this movie, as far as something for apes fans to enjoy. This is
again the production
it.
design just goes a long way for me, and I think that's what really sells it. Like, yeah, the plot is not good. Like, I wish
I prefer
it was
to watch the behind the scenes of this movie than to watch this movie. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Like, I could
watch a lot of Battle where they're like, should we go to this underground city to watch a slideshow presentation? You're like, this needs to end. Why are you in a school
didn't like
bus?
Battle.
That's
Battle
fine.
did
It's not great.
Yeah.
I can admit that it's not great, but I won't put it above Mark Wahlberg. Can't do that to Roddy.
No.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But it's on the lower
Wish-
end of the
yeah.
scale for sure.
Absolutely.
But
Well, that's Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
that
wanna-
is. And we were. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Joe, just shout out Rick Baker. Maybe it's a transitional piece here. He wanted to
I
work
was
on
about
this
to say,
because he did 1976 King Kong, Grey Stroke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes, Gorillas in the
Horrible
Mist,
movie.
and Mighty Joe Young.
Wow. Mighty
Oh,
Joe
Mighty
Young, which
Joe-
is one that I pitched as
Maybe
a joke
yes,
one that we should
okay.
do.
Yeah,
He had a lot of
talked
practice
about
working
maybe
on ape makeup. Like he was
Sure.
experienced
what's
in
going
it.
on in there. We still
Um,
got to figure out our bonus for this series. Yeah,
That's
I don't
true.
know what we do.
We got a couple months. Mighty Joe Young could be on there. We like
Yeah.
Rick Baker.
Mighty
but
Joe
we'll see.
Young. I
Oh.
pitched checks in, of course.
There's a third option is Andy Serkis, Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
one I
think
like a lot.
that's
Bridge.
maybe the one we finally, because we wanted to talk about that so
A
much.
movie
but
that I
Yeah.
owned on DVD back in the day, and I had the box set with all the behind the scenes features. And
I
it
had a
was very interesting.
statue of him fighting a T-Rex. It's just a little too long,
video
but we
Yeah.
could
game,
think about that. Video
it's
game's
so
great.
long. Now we're
It's very
thinking
long.
about that for a long form series. We
Mhm.
just we're gonna keep going our long form series, but we're gonna take a break in October because of course
Sep-Tim-Bur-Ton is ending.
we're ending one theme month and ramping up to another. You Normies,
It's our
longtime
favorite
listeners
time of
know.
year.
It's
Mhm.
our absolute favorite, Spooktober, where we are all going to pick a horror movie to discuss, some classics, some new, some whatever we want before leading up to our big spooktacular episode where we talk about all the horror stuff we did all month long. Jacob, please
Yeah.
give us a hint. Well, not a hint, but let's
Well-
just let the viewers or listeners know what will we be covering 1st.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like in years past, we each picked one movie basically. So we're doing 3 weeks of movies. And actually, Mike, maybe you want to announce because this is
Oh,
your pick that we're doing next week.
Fair. This is a movie that I picked largely on the merit of its practical effects more than maybe almost anything else in it, and that's going to be American Werewolf in London,
Ooh.
which had some of the best practical effects of that era, and it's Rick Baker.
Which
once again.
was Rick Baker,
Going
and
bake to
one of
bake.
his most famous, well-known movies that he worked on, where he sort of revolutionized the makeup effects, so much so that people were saying like, we need like a makeup Oscar because Rick Baker needs to be winning some Oscars.
That's where we're blowing it is basically
Yeah.
what the Academy came to. Yes.
Yep.
So that's 1981, American Werewolf in London. Do we want to announce? Should I announce the other movies that we're doing for
Yeah,
Spooktober
just
now?
unload
Yeah, let's let
it.
'em
Yeah,
get right
let's
down.
give people
Yeah.
So that way
some
they
time
can
to
get
go
ready.
here. Yeah.
So we've got American Werewolf in London. We've got for week 2, my pick. We're going to be doing 1978 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And like this movie, 2001 Planet of the Apes, this is a reimagining of a
It's a good way to put
50s
Mhm.
sci-fi horror movie.
Absolutely.
So that'll be fun. And then week 3, Colin's pick this year, we're doing a classic, an absolute classic, The Shining.
That's right.
Stanley
baby.
Kubrick, Jack Nicholson, 1980. Interestingly, we all independently picked movies from a 3-year time span.
Wow.
1978, 1980, and 1981. So
Oh,
Oh.
weird.
yeah, we're focusing
cool.
on a great era for horror movies, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but it'll be a
cool.
lot
And
of fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, we got some connective tissue. We get back to Jack Nicholson from our Batman and The Shining.
right.
you know,
Absolutely.
Rick Baker. Yeah, so it's gonna be
Mike's
Yeah.
pick is directed by the father of my favorite director.
Oh God, John Landis.
Can't wait.
Yeah, no, American
Yeah.
Werewolf. I'm excited to talk about that one next week.
Mhm.
Obviously, the Rick Baker connection, and that'll be a lot of fun. So, normies, yeah, stay tuned. We love Spooktober. We've done this for a few years now, where we just
Mhm.
take like 3 different horror movies, classics, and just examine them.
And then we all try
Yeah.
to do 30 for 30. One horror movie
Yep,
for each
so-
day of the
That's
month.
right. That's right.
Yes,
Which I've already
we're
started.
telling you now because we are going to be doing the 31 days of Halloween, our Spooktober special, where you try to do a horror movie every day, or at least watch 31 horror movies if you can. Write them out, list them out, put them together on your letterbox if you can. We love to see those.
Yeah.
Share them with us.
Mhm.
Give us recs. Mike, we can always expect to rec to Jacob and I some great J horror stuff.
Yep.
You guys talked a lot about in the past Cure. Is that a Korean horror movie?
Cure.
Is that
That's a
Korean?
Japanese.
That
it's
is J-horror.
Japanese.
I'm gonna try
Yeah.
to watch that this year. I'm already kind
That's
of
a dope
looking
movie.
at some of my picks to be like,
Yeah.
what special things am I gonna include? Because I
I
try not
watched
to repeat
Cure.
previous
Wa-
years.
Right. I watched Cure last year for the first time as as one of my movies. Loved it and definitely recommended that.
Mike did every Jew on.
Yes.
Yes.
And I still have to recommend the reboots that they did.
Yeah.
What is it? It's Grudge: The New Beginning or something, and the Final Grudge.
Right.
I can't imagine.
They're
And
good.
then
Yeah, we've done this for a couple years now. We've
Yes.
done the 31 days, and I've always done, like, Mike and I, we've done these full series of like Friday the 13th, Halloween and stuff.
slashers, yeah, where you watch
Yeah.
every single one. Yes, and
This
got
year,
my dad basically to watch every Halloween because we were talking
Wow.
about it. It's like,
Wow.
oh, maybe I should do that too. And I was like, really?
yeah. This
fun.
year, I think I'm not going to do a specific series. I'm just going to do a lot of single movies, but
I'm gonna scatter.
I am looking at some classics of the genre that I've never seen that I'm trying to fill in, ones that just, I never got around to seeing for one reason or another, and I just want to fill in
One
my.
thing I like to do, because this will be like, I think our 6th year
Six,
doing
probably,
this.
yeah.
Is that
6.
possible?
I don't know if we've done the same sort of format every year, but I feel like I've only started doing the 31 days like for the last 4 years maybe, but since I started keeping track on Letterboxd and that kind of thing.
Sometimes I'll pick a corresponding one and just do that late or middle entry. So like maybe this year, like Pumpkinhead 6 or something like that. Like sometimes that always gets me where I'm like, I don't know anything about this franchise. Let's see what the last one's like.
Right.
Yeah, just go way in there. That's Stan Winston's only movie ever directed.
Yes,
by the way.
that's right. That's right. Another incredible makeup artist. Yeah.
Not number 6, but
No, the first. Yeah, the first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the past, I've done Friday the 13th, Halloween,
Hellraiser.
Hellraiser,
Oh,
very
God,
famously
Hellraiser.
lost your
That was
mind.
rough.
Grudge.
That's some rough late sequels in that one. But obviously, the obvious choice would be Nightmare on Elm Street, which is the one that I haven't done yet. But maybe I'll save that for next year because I don't.
I've
Freddy
considered that.
6 is New Nightmare, I think. That's a good one.
Yeah, I've heard that one's good.
New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare is one I've seen, but there's so many other sequels like Dream Warrior and all this stuff that I've never seen and don't know anything about. So maybe that'll be one in the future that I do.
Well, I mean, I still got to do all the Insidious and the Conjuring universe. I've never seen any of those. Maybe to finally catch up.
Sure.
But to out myself for the coming 2 weeks, I've never seen either of your two selections, Body Snatchers or The Shining.
Or The Shining.
I'm happy to say I've seen all 3 of these, but it's been a while. Yeah.
All right.
I've never seen American Werewolf in London until last night, basically, because I'm a little ahead.
Well, I don't want to give it away, but there's an American werewolf, and you guess where he is?
I think he might be in London.
I think he might be.
I was expecting like Warren Zevon to show up.
Buddy, I wish. That'd be great.
Yeah. But I saw Invasion of the Body Snatchers for the first time earlier this year, which is why I picked it, because I was like, this is one we should talk about. I liked it a lot. And then The Shining I have seen before. But I'm going to try to also watch Doctor Sleep, the sequel by our guy, Mike Flanagan. And starring Mike's favorite actor, Ewan McGregor. So that's definitely a good one to watch.
If only Mew was in that one as well, his beautiful wife.
He's only my favorite actor because he's married to my favorite actress.
That's right.
Right.
And hello there. Hello there, Dr. Sleep.
Exactly.
And Rebecca Ferguson, my favorite actress.
Yes.
So it's got a lot of good actors.
Very true.
Hey, it's a good call. Lisa Nalgabe's mother.
Watch the director's cut.
Yeah.
All right. No, a lot of good stuff coming down the pipeline, though. I'm excited. I think it was fun doing Sep-Tim-Bur-Ton, but I'm ready to be spooky.
Sep-Tim-Bur-Ton.
I'm ready to be done. I might watch a few more.
I'm going to watch Sleepy Hollow. I will pledge that right now. Sleepy Hollow will be one of my 31 movies. But Normies, if you want to follow along, watch those 3 movies in preparation: American Werewolf in London, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and The Shining. And we're going to have a great time.
Yeah. And then
culminating in our month ending spooktacular that we always do, where we'll talk about our lists and talk about what we've seen in the month and stuff. And I'm just ready for October to start. It's fall. Dude. The leaves are changing. It's getting cooler.
Since you said it a couple weeks ago that you started already, I told you it's been on my mind, dog. I am feeling horror-filled. I'm fucking ready, dude.
I'm gonna try to watch a movie in Japan, a spooky movie in their movie theater. See what they're
Yeah,
releasing.
dude.
Go visit the
Yes.
original Grudge house.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
torn down. Unfortunately, I would have.
Good.
don't
Only
want
with
to,
fire
that's
can
when the
it be
grudge-
You have
defeated.
to burn
so
it
that's-
down. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
But don't burn down this podcast.
No.
No, not at all.
And check
Now,
us out
if
on
you
YouTube.
want to reach out at normies_like_us, you can rate, review, subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Send us a message to pass on to our little friend Pericles. He's been lost for a long time. We want to track him down, send him good wishes, good tidings. And like we said, send us some horror recs for the upcoming month and tell us what you thought of Sep-Tim-Bur-Ton. If you had a good time with this, if you want to see us do more stuff like this, we've been playing with drafts, we've been playing with little format changes like this.
Yeah,
And if you like it, let us know.
Yeah.
absolutely.
appreciate it.
What's your favorite Tim Burton movie? What's your least favorite? Are you a fan of him? All that stuff. Let us know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Otherwise,
What's your
we've
favorite
been
Tim
your
Burton
host.
girlfriend. I don't know.
Who's your favorite
Yeah.
Tim Burton lover? would be a
HBC
great
forever.
answer.
Right.
I
That one-
guess. Yeah. If somebody
Monica
said
Bellucci.
fucking the Italian stallion that he's with
Honestly,
now,
Monica
I'd be
Bellucci
like,
is a pretty
I
Monica
strong
guess. I
Bellucci.
mean, she's
addition.
Eva Green. I love Eva Green too.
they're
so-
all unstoppable. That's the issue. It's-
Yeah.
Quite a
You
roster,
just
so-
imagine his weird skeleton body laying there as these beautiful
I-
women kiss him.
I wish you wouldn't have said that because I don't want to imagine that. But
Jack Skellington.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're welcome for that imagery, listeners.
Yeah. So we've been your hosts. This is General Colin.
Mike Hughes. I don't know.
and this is Jacob Davidson, Captain Jacob Davidson of the U.S. Space Force, I guess.
This podcast is more powerful than 1,000 spears.
Absolutely. All right. Ape shall never kill ape. Catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.